across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, a very good morning to you. Just gone 6 o'clock. What is it? Wednesday, the 19th of August. And the summer is officially over. No, well, I completely got it wrong this morning. Came out in my T-shirt and shorts to the driver at 2:45 in the morning from whence I came, by the coast. Freezing. Arrive at the studios. If you haven't tuned in already and heard this, I'm sorry I won't bitch much, Lauren, but I've arrived this morning. The first day, not sweating like whatever. Feeling a little bit nippy, to be perfectly honest. Walking to Studio One here. They spent all summer trying to sort out the air conditioning, and it's sorted out. It's like a bloody icebox, so we're all freezing. Charlie's got his muff on, but we'll talk about that in a minute. 0344 499 1000, the only number you need. Phone right now. Rory's taking your calls. We'll take your voice notes, and a new prize for the first voice note. The diet's in, look, protein yoghurt. Oh, yes, that'll get me through the show, according to Mrs... Anyway, there we go. 0344 499 1000, you text to 87222. What are you waking up to? Well, there's a row at the top of reform that's being reported overnight. Political commentator Tim Montgomerie, who defected, I think, from the Tories. He set up Conservative Home, which is a sort of think tank some years ago. Defected in 2024. He's criticised the party, says there's too much sort of argy-bargy. They aren't ready for an election. He took aim at Zia Youssef and accused him of behaving like a child in politics. Is this normal? Is this... I mean, listen, there are arguments in political parties left, right and centre. And as scrutiny increases, that will happen. Love your thoughts on that. I think we might get a reaction to the next story. A French politician, I don't know why I did that. Check this. Who is this man? Can you get... Oh, has demanded we Brits hand over more cash to tackle migrants as he branded the UK a permanent attraction. Really? And we're giving you 500 million quid and you just let them come. Of course, it's easy, isn't it? I don't understand that. Another 250 migrants yesterday in 3 boats arriving, taking the total, since the Messiah from Manchester took the job, of 3,500 people. Can somebody phone me, text me, message me and explain why we are giving 500 million quid to a country who describes our country as a permanent attraction and does nothing but encourage illegal migrants to flood our shores? Whoever is in charge is barking mad. Stop paying them 500 million and take away the fishing licences, for God's sake. It's not difficult. Also, the Home Office. This is interesting. The most disorganised thing ever, bar this breakfast show, to be fair. Council leaders are accusing the Home Office and the government of fearing scrutiny because they've decided to rush through plans to build the biggest migration detention centre in Europe in Gosport on the Hampshire seafront. Gosport. So it will house 600 foreign criminals and illegal migrants. So that's a start, but the local council are saying, no, why are you doing it here? Why on our lovely seafront? Been to Gosport. And I have. And, you see, we're back there again like we have with houses. People say we need more houses, but don't build them near me. We need detention centres. Why are we building it in Gosport? Why not on some sort of, I don't know, island out in Scotland that nobody... Just lots of midges. Make it different. I don't understand this. It's too nice. Also, obsessions. That was my phone. Andy Burnham, bless him, and I'm being completely and utterly honest with you here, seems to be obsessed with one thing and one thing only. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen.
Some rules you look at and just think, how can that be fair? One of them is the 9:30 a.m. restriction on disabled people's bus passes. More local buses are coming under public control. These buses, very soon, are going to be back under public control.
Looks really, really pleased about buses. No, I'm not decrying the fact that he's trying to make them cheaper, or that's absolutely right for disabled people, but our Prime Minister is obsessed with buses, which made me think today, as it's slightly quiet, although my colleagues will tell you it's not, what is your weird obsession, and what a fantastic way to introduce the left to my right, the yin to my yang, the hinge to my bracket, and the man who will share duties at the Reform Party conference later soon. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. Nice to see you back.
Well, we've done that. We had a chat, didn't we? We've been in the blue and white. How were you in my absence? Sad?
I was
bereft.
Bereft.
Yes.
I was, it was hard work. It was hard work.
Was it? Who did you work with, Collins? Giddy?
I mean, Enough said, really. No,
The wife's
he
always
did
said
great.
he's got a good voice.
Well, he did great. He did great. I do like
He
Ian,
did
but
great.
he did
Just
great.
leave it there.
He did
great on me. No, he's lovely. Listen, he's a top man and enjoying a really peaceful holiday with his kids. He texted me yesterday saying he can't wait to come back either. Right, weird obsessions. Andy Burnham, is he obsessed with buses, do you think? He seems a little bit.
I think he is, but, you know, this has all the hallmarks of another former mayor, Boris Johnson, who also seemed to have an obsession with buses, although I think that was just
Bikes.
one big red... Oh, of course, yes, the Boris Bikes of London, but there was that one big red bus.
Brexit is done, let's get breakfast sorted. Just remember that line.
Of course, but the £350 million a week on that big red bus, you know, that's what we send to the EU. We could be spending it on the NHS, and that became sort of the trademark of the Brexit years. But then, of course, to get rid of that bus, allegedly, you know, because that was the story. If you Google Boris Johnson and buses, that's what kept coming up. He then said that he likes to make model buses. Do you remember that interview? It was with Ross Kensel. Do you remember someone called Ross Kensel?
Never
Ross
heard
Kensel?
of Ross. Yeah, of course I have. Brilliant interview.
He used to be political editor, and now in the Lords, of course.
Yeah, but he's about 11, isn't he? Can we... Why is Burnham... No, not why is he obsessed with buses. What is... I mean, I feel I should tread carefully. What's your weird obsession, Charlie Rowley?
Well, I'm thinking about it. I don't think I've got...
I
a
have
weird
OCD,
obsession.
so I would literally mop marble floors at 2 a.m. in the morning because I can't go to bed without everything perfect.
Right, okay.
The lines on the grass have to be absolutely straight. Towels have to be hung at the right angle. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
That's my weird obsession. Yours is not right, is it? Yours is something that you can't broadcast.
No, it's not that. I mean, I'm partial to a biscuit. I mean, I have to say, but that's about it. You know, I can get through a whole bag of biscuits.
So which
I'm a craver, I suppose.
You're a craver.
Yeah. But is that an obsession, though?
Well, it's led to Manjaro, obviously, but what I'm joking. What's the obsession? What sort of biscuits? Any particular ones? Do you dunk?
I'll swallow anything.
There you go. There you go. 6:10. There you go. It took all of 10 minutes, and even Big Mark, who's been here since 1735, has fallen off his chair. 0344 499 1000. Text to 07322. What is your weird obsession? Text me, and send me a voice note. I might not have the text switched on. I've no idea. Charlie, let's get to it. A row at the top of Reform. Political commentator Tim Montgomerie, somebody we both know, says he will fight the suspension that he has been given for criticising the party. This was him speaking after his suspension.
Overnight, Reform Party suspended me. This process was supposed to be kept confidential. That was stated very clearly in the email I received. But my suspension was leaked to the Guido Fawkes website, and I swear to God it wasn't me. Someone in Reform must have done that. So the process has unfortunately become public. I have a right to appeal to that process, and I am going to exercise it. Over the last 2 years, I have given everything really to support Reform, and if they want to kick me out, they're going to have to kick me out after an argument.
What's your take on this, my friend? I mean, all parties have, moments, don't they? He described Zia Youssef as behaving like a child in politics.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a difficult one when you are a commentator, a high-profile commentator, as Tim Montgomerie is. He's been around a long time. He, as you say, he set up Con Home, which was a website for the Conservative Party, which talked about all things what the Conservative Party was doing. He's set up think tanks. He's been around. He's been a columnist, I think, for the Times. So he's been around a long time and has a lot to say, and is very thoughtful about what he says.
Yes, he is.
And so he obviously then became a member of Reform, and there was a photo of him next to, I think, it's certainly Nigel Farage, and I think it might be the other one in the photograph, I'm not quite sure. But, he was welcomed as someone that had defected as a Tory supporter for years and years and years to Reform, so it works for Reform then. But he did say at the time, I'll be, critical where I need to be critical. And I suppose that's the balance that you've got to try and tread as a critical friend that is a supporter and also a commentator and, a journalist, as well as someone that's being, a die-hard card-carrying a person that just wants the party to do well, no end, and not talk about the negative stuff. He obviously, I think, has been a critical friend, but some of the language you would question. I wouldn't go around calling, the Shadow Home Secretary, a child or acting like a child. Maybe the phraseology could be different, but a process, as he said, should have been done maybe in confidence behind closed doors. It's obviously become public, and
what's interesting is what he said there. I didn't release that. I don't know anything about the validity of this story other than what's reported, and I genuinely don't know. But there had been lots that was being leaked, hasn't there, from Reform about certain issues that might be going on. Was there any sort of interpretation that he was behind that? Was that involved in this? Was that an accusation or something? I sort of touched upon that, I thought.
Yeah, I think there has been, because some of the language that he's used in a couple of interviews, describing some of the events within Reform, have the same similar language has appeared in, as a source to Reform or close to Reform. So,
but he'd never taken on an official role, had he? To be fair,
no, and as I say, he'd been a sort of commentator, but that's the balance I think you've got to strike. Is Tim Montgomerie going to? He's not front page of any of the newspapers. It's not real headline news for the country, but it is just another conversation which I think was unnecessary to have about Reform and how they get on with people and how Nigel gets on with people.
But also, you'd have to say, to be fair, we watch politicians never make decisions and allow people to stay in parties and maybe, concerted action straight away is the answer. What I always want to say about all of this is, and I will be accused by certain people of being unfair when I say this is to me yet another example, distraction or whatever, away from what really matters. And what really matters is this country is on its arse. This country has for 2 years, and before that by the Tories, been governed by people who don't seem to understand what the silent majority wants. We talk every single day, Charlie, and I'm really serious when I say this. We've got borders that are overrun. We've got a police force that's at best two-tier and at worst non-existent. We've got absolutely the most inconsistent public services. We've got a defence system that doesn't work. We've become almost the laughing stock. We've got the highest taxes in 70 years. And people are feeling, whether it's through energy, through shopping, just through general life, they're hacked off, right? And when Nigel's been criticised because of his money, and a lot of people have jumped on board that. Now we've got Tim Montgomerie, then we've got the truth of the matter is that all of those should not distract the people who want and desire and believe in change. And I don't think, and this is no disrespect to Tim Montgomerie, that's not going to stop people. That's not going to stop people who believe that Nigel Farage is in fact the answer. And it's not going to change the minds of people who think Reform and Nigel Farage are absolutely not the answer. So for me, we should just get on with what is really important, which is talking about how we are on our arse. My first voice note this morning is about the one thing that I would suspect if you knocked on 1,000 doors, over 900 people would talk about. Morning, Wayne.
Morning, Jezza. Morning, Chaz. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham. Old Pierre thinks they're entitled to more money. Come on, they don't deserve the money they've got. In fact, we should be getting it back. Keep up the good work, guys.
Yeah, Wayne always makes me feel full of beans because he always sounds so miserable, but we love it. Where is Angry Rob, by the way? He must be on holiday. It's 6:15. That's not me moving on from the story about Reform, but I don't mean to be rude. I want to be talking about a French politician who says we should hand over more money as he branded us a permanent attraction. I'm going to take your bloody fishing licences away. Who does he think he is?
Well, you're absolutely right. Just to conclude on Reform, I think you're on the money there, because you're right. And it was David Cameron, not someone who a lot of...
David Cameron and Tim Montgomerie fell out, by the way. Let's just have that moment.
Exactly. But David Cameron made a really, really good point early on when Twitter and when it was called Twitter came on the scene. And
in the 1700s. Yes, we remember.
And he said, you were there, were you?
Oh, dear.
But he sort of said, he checked Twitter twice a day, but he said, I'm not looking at it, it doesn't govern my life. But we don't run government by Twitter. And still to this day, I think that is very, very true, because the bread and butter issues that people in this country care about is immigration. It's stopping the small boats.
It's immigration,
it's
energy and net zero, it's cost of living, it's defence, it's all those things. It's wanting your kid to get a normal education. It's wanting you to be... My daughter's 22 and she's had lots of interviews and lots of applications and she's still looking for her first job and she's quite down and she got a degree, a first-class degree from Edinburgh University. And I said to her, that's the way of the world. I'd rather be concentrating on things... I'm just being honest.
Absolutely.
You know... I remember when I was going through what I went through 7 years ago, somebody gave me some really sage advice and they said, the lovers will love and the haters will hate and there's no way you're going to change that opinion. And that's the same with politics. But I want my politicians, I want conviction back. I don't care. If you can't stand up and take a bit of criticism, then you're not worth jack to me anyway. Yeah. I don't understand. But if you're running an I'm not going to run an organisation and have somebody who's slagging me off. You're not working for me, do one. That's it.
Yeah. And
you're not going to work on this breakfast show and say, don't listen to that breakfast show, it's crap. I mean, it might be crap and you wouldn't want to listen to it, but you're not going to work here, are you? Yeah. Do one, go somewhere else.
Exactly. And that's why, look, you know, Tim's obviously posted the video that he did. It's in response to what's happened. And...
Why wouldn't you keep quiet and fight it privately then? Why would you make a video about it? Now you've got me on it now, see?
Well, I
didn't say a word for 7 years when I got done. Keep your mouth shut and get on with it and prove the validity of your argument. You can't go and say it's been leaked and then make a video. That makes it sound like you care, or no, not care, like you've been affected. I don't know. Maybe I come from a different world.
No. I mean, it's obviously gone public that he was suspended, and he's obviously responded publicly, and I think that will be the end of the matter now. I don't think that there won't be much. It's not
going to stop the small boats, is it?
It's not going to stop the small boats. There's nothing more to say really about Tim Montgomerie.
In fact, I'm not going to say any more about it because I don't think it's. I'm not being disrespectful to Tim. I like Tim, but just deal with it. Come on.
But it is a message also to, I think, you know, political leaders that don't get so consumed necessarily by the SW1, and that's the postcode in Whitehall, and that's, you know, the
ask Mary in Rochdale this morning. She didn't. And no disrespect, she didn't even know what the hell this is about.
Exactly. And people like Wayne. So, you know, if you're, I'm sure he is listening this morning, Nigel, and I'm sure Zia Yusuf is listening to this brilliant.
Nigel will be.
You know, don't worry about, you know, what somebody has said in The Spectator, or don't worry about little column you know, quotes or sources say, or column entries in our daily newspapers. It's what Wayne is saying this morning. It's about giving money to the French. It's about Mary that you just
Hinge, I've missed you. Morning to Margaret in Birmingham. Good morning, JK and Charlie. Andy Burnham will never stop the boats. Will never call a Cobra meeting, but he will keep the buses moving. He is big on buses. Good morning, JK. My weird obsession. Oh, here we go. This is because I reckon that Andy Burnham's got an obsession with buses. This is Adrian from Chelmsford. Good morning, JK. No mention of you. Thought I'd get that in. My weird obsession is eating too many cornettos and always pinching my girlfriend Rachel's. And always pinching my girlfriend Rachel's. Or really? OK, not sure. Was it pinching her cornetto or I have no idea. Talk. So Andy has decided to take more buses back into public ownership. How much is that going to cost the taxpayer, says Dave in Colne. P.S. What's happened to the breakfast clubs? Yeah, no mention of a bloody breakfast club since the Messiah from Manchester took over from the dweeb.
Well, they've obviously been sorted, haven't they?
Well, there you go. Sean's in Bridlington. Have you been to Bridlington?
I haven't, but it's...
Offered a summer season once there.
Were you?
I thought it's time to get off and do something else. I'm obsessed by skirting boards. Oh, this is good. I just know where this weird thing is. I can't stand damaged skirting boards and I can't rest until they are replaced. Weird, I know, says Sean from Bridlington.
It's the small things, isn't it?
Yes, I had a woman once. I was doing this morning for the summer, and a woman was obsessed with fish. We're terrified of fish, and we sort of put up a fish counter, and she came around the corner, she literally fainted. Literally terrified of fish. You terrified of fish?
I'm not terrified of fish, no.
It's a surprise. Trevor's in Boston. My weird obsession is messaging the Jeremy Kyle show every single day he's on, and only ever once in a while he reads out the message.
Oh.
Well, that worked.
Well, now we know.
Morning, Jez, and the wonderfully talented Charlie. If you miss a bus policy from Burnham, don't worry. There'll be another one along in 10 minutes.
Hey!
Cheers, Keith in Nottingham. That's the one of the morning. Mark's in Croydon. Morning, kidder. I think Charlie is obsessed with Ian Collins. The pair spent most of the show giggling and flirting last week.
Now, I've been exposed. I feel I would never do anything like that. Not Not with you away, not with you away. I wouldn't have it.
Well, the cat's away, the mice will play. Good morning, Jeremy, and the great and fantastic Sir Charlie, says Damon from Wigan. So another row with reform where we don't know all the facts. However, if the right has any chance of creating a government, they need to sort themselves out and bloody fast, because if the right don't sort themselves out, we're stuck with the parties that are going to destroy my once great country. Sean's in Gloucester. Good morning, JK. And the imposter Charlie, who favours Ian Collins and basically should be... I'm joking. Has Andy Pandy become a bus obsessive? Honestly, he's just as useless as Starmer.
Well,
I don't think he is as useless as Starmer.
He's obviously a much better communicator than Starmer and has been able to... And is a better politician politically. He's done what he needs to do to get through as a politician and as Prime Minister. So he's avoided the media scrutiny, he's avoided a leadership contest, he's avoided Parliament for 6 weeks, and he's now got this chunk of time over summer to just flood
without
a
any scrutiny at all.
Without any scrutiny at all. But getting involved, my annoyance, although, again, this is coming maybe from, a Westminster bubble point of view, I don't know, but he's getting involved in absolutely everything just to make headlines, just to be seen, just to be in control. He's like that sort of busybody in the office that likes to keep busy but isn't really doing very much. But, you know that they're there and you know that they're sort of doing a good job. And
I think Mark's just made a great point in my ear. It's like local council stuff, isn't it? It is absolutely... You're so right, Mark. It's like I'm gonna appear to be a man of the people by trying to touch on every single subject. I've said this until I am blue in the face. And if I was in that position, I would say to every single person in the cabinet and every single person, there are 5 things or 4 things or 3 things, and that's all I want you to sort out. That's all I want you to talk about. We have to have our finger on the pulse of the British public, and stopping the boats and ending net zero and doing something about drilling to get our energy prices down and doing something about the cost of living as a result of that and doing something about our defence. It's simple to me. I don't even understand what... There's no disrespect to buses. There's no disrespect to what else is he talking about? Strawberry yoghurt? I don't know.
But this is the thing.
Serious politics.
Absolutely. And that's what people want. And I know he's not been there for very long, but you will get caught out eventually. There's no good sort of having these big announcements about buses and capping them again at £2, which they were capped.
He hasn't had
before.
to justify anything at the moment.
Exactly. And, talking about, making it easier to unsubscribe from, apps and subscriptions, the Prime Minister should not be getting involved in that level of detail. Sending an alert across the country not to light a barbecue massively backfired, I think, by the way, because, I don't know if you received...
We had a man on yesterday, he said he was in the middle of having sex with his wife and it put him right off. Where were you?
I was actually in bed. Not with that... not in the same sense.
Morning, Louise!
Good morning, everybody. It's Louise from Sheffield. This France money thing... I can see both sides of the story, to be honest with you. France should be doing more. However, we shouldn't be giving everybody the benefits in the world when they come over here. And we have made it incredibly attractive for them. And I think we're making the job very difficult for the French.
Demonstrate to the public that you are doing everything.
But the key thing here, as you say, he's the Prime Minister. he has the power, as did previous Prime Ministers, to do things like build more prisons and failed to do so. This has been the first real test of Burnham, where I'm going to please everybody, I'm Mr Nice Guy, Dan Hodges thinks I'm great, and then he's failed it at the first attempt.
I don't think he's... I don't think
I've been reading your columns, Dan. I mean, come on. You think the sun shines out of his backside.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:27. Hinge and Bracket on Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brits. Your views on the day's news are most welcome. Charlie Rarely, Lord Rarely to you, is here. Why were you in bed at 6:30 or 7 o'clock when the alarm went off? What were you doing?
I had been up all night. It was the Clacton by-election, and I had been up covering that, talking about it up until...
On what, on this station?
On various platforms, including Talk. I was here at 7 till 7:30, I believe, in the morning. And did
I missed it. It must have been marvellous. You were just giggling and flirting with Ian Collins, were you?
It wasn't. It was nothing of the sort.
Morning, Adrian.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Charlie. It's Adrian from East Sussex again. Why should we pay the French more? Well, we know what the scheme is, giving France money. It's the whole scheme behind the whole of the UK's political elite. It's taking money from the public purse and putting it in other people's hands. It's what drives net zero, which is completely nonsensical. It's what drives DEI. It's obvious that's what's going on. It is corruption, to put it in one single word.
Charlie, you know more about this than me. I sit here most days exasperated to the point of trying to work out how politicians either don't have the know-how or the will or the balls to do something that to me is really, really simple. There's a lot of window dressing. We give numbers every single day. If I was the Prime Minister of Great Britain and I woke up to a story that some little French politician has demanded that I give him more cash as he basically waves people across the channel to me, I'd get my head somewhere in a space that said, hold on a minute, mate, you're no value for what you're not having that. I don't, why, in your mind, having worked in government, what is the reason that this single issue, which is so important to so many, doesn't get real attention? They'll make, we're going to build a detention centre, we're going to do this. Put the Navy in the Channel, stop them coming in, I've said it before, recondition a massive liner, create a crack team of border officials. I don't believe if you're coming on an illegal boat, you've got a right, but if you can prove it, red carpet. If not, you're not coming here to get benefits. If the people in power cannot see that we are giving too much to people who have never paid in, and that is the attraction, then they are stupid. Or maybe Adrian's right. There's a game here that I don't understand.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a game, but it's the first principles of what people think in terms of their political, standing. And that, in plain speak, is that on the left, people think that the majority of people coming across in small boats are still refugees.
No, but they're not.
Well, I agree with you.
They're not. And how do they answer their working class voters who can't get any benefits or can't get any help or can't get any breathing space to try and survive? Why does nobody look a left-wing politician in the face and go, they have to cross 7 countries? You're talking crap.
Well, and you had a brilliant interview, I remember not so long ago, with Christine Jardine, is it? Who's on, from the Lib Dems, who couldn't get through to, just to say, look, they are not all refugees. They're not asylum seekers. They are largely men, economic migrants, chancing their arm at a better life. No harm there, but you've got to do it the proper way. If you want to come to the UK, apply like everybody else.
And I agree with somebody who said to me this morning, if it's less attractive, they wouldn't come.
And this is absolutely, and this is where we were just talking about Burnham, and he's talking about buses, talking about making it easier to unsubscribe to things. He's talking about barbecues. He's talking about 20% off VAT in hospitality that his predecessor put up in the first place. So he's unpicking a few things, going for the low-hanging fruit. But when it comes to the issue of small boats, his answer was, well, actually, we've got to redistribute them amongst middle-class communities. Now, that was a clanger, a massive clanger. That shows you where he's at on the big issues. When it comes to early prison release, oh, I'll just get my Justice Secretary to look into that. I've asked him to look into that. If you can't answer the big-ticket items, then all the hanging fruit...
So let's play a game. I'm Prime Minister, and you're my special advisor, and I frankly wouldn't need this. And there's the story of PC Andrew Harper's two vile little... The people who killed him were part of that. Under a scheme, could be released early because that'll give me more prison space to put criminals in, right? Do I need you to tell me that... Oh, I would think to a person across this country, it's too early to get angry, but I am. Most people, I hope, would go, those scumbags should stay in prison. I've got a majority in the House of Commons. I'm going to put emergency legislation. If I toss about any lawyer, I'll deal with that in a minute. I'm going to put emergency legislation right now, and they are not leaving. That is a fact. That's what I want, and I don't care whether you're Reform or Labour or Tory. I want somebody to go, not bothered about the ECHR or some left-wing lawyer. I am going to put the Navy in the Channel, and I'm not going to keep giving money that we can't afford to people who don't deserve it. And I am fed up to the back teeth listening to these people going on and on about they come from war-torn countries. I will repeat this for the final time. If I was leaving a war-torn country, I'd take my family with me. And I wouldn't cross 7 bloody countries where there's no war, would I? Because I'd settle in the first one. No, I wouldn't. I'd go to England because England wipes my backside.
Absolutely. And that is why we need politicians to make decisions. It's not just relying on...
Why don't they, though, Charlie?
Because you will have politicians who get captured, I'm afraid, by the civil service. They'll get captured by officials who then try to, funny enough, at times lock out the political advisors who will be trying to get to you to say, look, boss, you know, you need to just hold firmly.
They try to lock you out?
They will try to lock you out. They will try to, not necessarily physically.
Does it happen to you?
Multiple times during COVID in particular. Because an alternative view wasn't welcome. And so, you know, all the briefing that goes into the, you know, the minister's red box, all of the meetings, you know, there'll be side notes being shuffled. You feel, you know, when you're being isolated, you feel when you're there to provide and present all kinds of views and the political reality of maybe what at the time the Conservative Party wanted and what I thought much of the country wanted during COVID, that we were too tough on lockdowns, certainly after the first lockdown, perfectly legitimate. I'm all for it. But subsequently, we were going down a rabbit hole, but that's a story for another time, maybe. But it's the same with, say, the small boats. You know, if I was in the room, I would have had no problem saying to Rishi Sunak, OK, you've got 20 lawyers here saying, well, you know, we are the best in the... You know, our law has been exported right across the world. We can't be seen to be breaking international law.
Can I
do it once, get those planes off the ground.
And you are so right. This, we've always looked good. And this thing about Great Britain being the moral leader, about giving more to international foreign aid, about behaving in a decent way, right? That doesn't wash anymore because we're skint. We're so skint we can't afford the interest on the debts we've got. So whilst you're still trying to play we're the big people in the world, your own people are suffering. And I fail to understand how somebody hasn't gone, do you know what? Do you know, after when Boris won the election, he stood up. I mean, honestly, somebody said, oh, it was great. It was as simple as anything. Let's get Brexit done. 52% of the public had voted for it. Well, 52% are going to vote for him, aren't they? Let's get the boat stopped. It's not rocket science. I don't give a damn about being told that if I leave the ECHR, I'm going to be like Russia and Belarus. You can shove it. I'm sick to death of people who seem to make excuses. And I know they'll go, oh, that's so unfair. You don't know what it's like. Well, go and ask a young girl that's been attacked or a family that have people in an HMO that are walking the streets. I did my bit about Bournemouth the other day with Harry Redknapp. It was appalling. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not going to lie about what I see. Of course there are people who suffer in the world. We proved that with Ukraine. But I do think, and I say it every day now, mate, to the point where I'm boring myself, the silent majority have woken up, and it's not even our country, it's our money. It's our future, it's our kids' future.
Totally, absolutely. But if you take the view of someone who is, you know, maybe part of Burnham's government, who would say, well, OK, yeah, we need to distribute people that come, you know, that are
stop them coming.
Stop them coming in the first place. But, you know, if he can't do that or doesn't recognise it, as we do, he will say, right, well, we need to distribute these people right across the country. But also, he will still want to talk up. You know, he'll be presented daily with figures from the Treasury for him to be able to say what a great job he's doing. So, you know, everybody moaning about these immigrants, whether it's legal or illegal, we're still the fastest growing economy in the G7. We're still firing on all cylinders. We're able to cap buses at £2. We're able to cut VAT by 20%. We're doing great. So all these naysayers, all these people on the right that just want to talk down our country, don't listen to them. Don't listen to people on the right or the far right. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just angry, you know, little Britons. I, as a lefty, you know, if I'm the Prime Minister, believe in that, you know, immigration is for the good. We're a compassionate society. All these people are fleeing persecution, and we should give them a home.
Well, Prime Minister, I think you're an idiot.
But that would be some of the advice that he'd be getting from people on the left. Do you hear it day in, day out on shows like this?
Honestly, listen to this from Tim in Winchester. This, I'm so with you. Good morning, Jez and Charlie. My girlfriend wants to visit me in the UK. This is what we had to provide to legally get her here as a tourist. A letter of invitation, a confirmation of my address, a copy of my bank statement, a copy of my payslip, a return air ticket, and proof of funds while she's here. And we paid £135 for a visa. Should have come on a boat, shouldn't she?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's the country we now live in. Good morning, Jeremy and Sir Charlie. What's this, Sir Charlie? Did he unite you with his big sword?
It's only a matter of time.
Give Burnham credit. I haven't heard him once talk about breakfast clubs, or is it only a matter of time, says Trevor in Harrow. This is quite interesting. The French MP asking for more money is a bit of a liberty, but he also has a very good point. The UK is a permanent attraction, says Dan from Suffolk. Yeah, agree, we need to do something about it. The best way to stop boats is to inform the French that every boat leaving France will forfeit a fishing licence. Couldn't agree more. Charlie and the icon, Jez and the icon that's Charlie. As far as I can work out, in his first month as PM, Burnham has done the square root of saving people a quid on bus fares. That's about it, says Rog. Richard's in Leicester. Have you been to Leicester?
I have been through Leicester.
Good. Have you? How did Leicester feel? I don't, honestly, how did Leicester feel about that? Morning, Jez. Charlie Burnham is just Charlie Burnham? Oh, I see. Morning. No, absolutely no dictation. What's it called? Punctuation here. Morning, Jez. Charlie Burnham. It's just keeping journalists and the population distracted with waffle whilst taking the country further down. Come on, Jez, he's worse than Starmer. Just smiles whilst he takes your wallet out of your pocket. That's Richard. Morning, JK. Just letting you know, watching from Tiggerbilly Bakker in Denmark. Tiggerbilly Bakker. I don't know how you say that. Tybergilligaby Baker in Denmark. Always good to start the day with a bit of JK in Tybergilligaby Baker in Denmark. Have you been to that place? No.
I haven't, no. But,
Catherine's in Grimsby. I've been there. I think I prefer to be in Denmark. Welcome back. Just want to say I think Burnham should fill his buses with illegals and drive them back over the... brilliant. How are you going to drive over the channel? Like James Bond. Just the magic between Charlie and Collins was TV gold. They are the next TV power couple, says Mark in Selby.
I think these people are trolling you now. I think they've...
I don't know what that means.
I think they've sussed... I think they're just trying to... They're trying to draw a wedge between us, drive a wedge between us. It's impossible.
It is impossible. We are like chalk and cheese. No. Hinge and bracket, Morecambe and Wise, right and wrong. Burnham equals Blakely. Get them buses out. Jez, I'm obsessed with women, says Mark from the West Country, from the Black Country. This of course, is the obsession morning, because Andy Burnham's obsessed with buses. We asked you what you're obsessed with. Morning, JK. GB is on the brink of disaster. Best wishes from Vienna, says Mark. Brilliant. Thanks so much. Jez, Charlie, Nigel has always said arguments within Reform UK should be private, not public. Why, oh, why did Tim Montgomerie do this? I wish he hasn't. And Jez, I feel so sad. I thought we had a solid party in Reform who could maybe get this country back on track, but all this bitching going on will damage us surely, says Dan in Halifax. Your thoughts, your opinions on the day's news, the legend that is Sir, Lord, Superstar Charlie Rowley is with me. 0344 499 1000. Debbie, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. It's Debbie from Bedford. Remember our little chat? Oh, about 3 or 4 months ago? Where I was cheeky and I did ask if I could have a mug, a talkTV mug, because I spend a lot of time in bed. And I was really, really looking forward to my mug, which you promised me, but I still haven't received. And now my family think it's funny and said, you're not going to get it. And I keep saying, I am. So, please, am I getting my mug? Or am I going to be made to look a mug?
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You know you're in trouble when the executive producer of this show says the quality in terms of the voice notes is a little bit varied this morning. Christian's not impressed, peeps. By the way, protein strawberry yoghurt for the best voice note of the day hasn't gone yet. Do you like the look? This is a big pouch. You put it in your mouth. It's protein yoghurt. I'm on a diet.
Packed with protein, is it?
Just the way he says it. 0344 499 1000. Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy and Charlie. The best way for the migrants to stop coming is to tell the French that unless they stop them, they won't have the tapestry back. This is Ron in Bridlington. Great show.
Sorry, the tapestry, what his wife did, or is that the bio tapestry?
I think it's the bio tapestry that we've got at the minute, yes, on a loan. But I don't know how long we've got it for. But,
yeah, you're not getting it back, and you're not getting your fishing licences, and you could all... Honestly, I don't even understand this. Can you say good morning to Stacey, who's listening?
Good morning, Stacey.
She's got a big, long drive, and she's been very, very helpful, and she's brilliant, and she's listened to the show. Is there anything you'd like to share or impart with her? Tell her about your weird obsession. You still haven't done this yet.
Well, I'm still maintaining that
your weird obsession is to eat a whole packet of biscuits.
I'm partial to a custard cream.
Are you?
Or a chocolate digestive.
And can you get your way through the whole packet? Is that what you're saying? You're gluttonous git. Is that what?
I can get through. I'm sure. Yes, it has been known. Maybe it's because I don't have any kind of
friends.
That's why I'm here at 6 a.m. Yeah. No one invites me out anymore.
No.
I don't smoke. I don't have.
You don't drink.
I do drink.
You don't fornicate.
But I don't have. You know, when people go outside for a bit of a smoke or vape or I don't have. But biscuits are my.
So you go outside with a packet of biscuits and munch on them?
The trouble is, if you have too many biscuits, over a night, and you sort of, I can't blame the biscuits if you send a text or two to someone that you might regret.
I'm going to bring for Friday. I'll bring in your favourite biscuit for you. I'm going to watch you munch a whole packet in an hour. Do you like a jammy Dodger? Do you like a Bourbon? What do you like?
I don't mind a chocolate finger.
just can't. It's brilliant. 7:15. Everybody's now just gone.
Hobnob.
Oh,
what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Let's add some text messages. So, can we bring a chocolate finger in for Charlie on Friday or 10? 0344 499 1000. Morning, Jez. If I was leaving a war-torn country, I would definitely leave my bloody husband there, says Linda. Oh, yeah, another exciting one. Jez, Charlie, I agree with the French being angry. We have created this problem for them. The incentives we provide it make it entirely our fault. Yeah, I do. I absolutely get that. But, of course, I'm against the fact that I feel like they're taking advantage, which makes me feel really, really stupid. Can we talk about my thing? I need to switch my thing off because it goes on again. Can we talk about this transfer of responsibility that we've heard about this morning? Andy Burnham has said that the number 10 North, I don't even understand this, will take over responsibility for economic growth from the Treasury as part of a huge transfer of power out of Whitehall. It comes as the UK borrowing cost near a 2-decade high. Debt, interest, spending alone higher than £100 billion a year, just paying debts on interest we can't control. What does this transfer of power, what does that mean? We're all going north. They're all going north. What does that mean?
So I think it means for too long and under successive governments, people feel that the Treasury just has too much power. So it's there to sort of maintain public spending, so the tax that comes in. So it's about cutting public spending. But then it sort of chokes off growth. So it's because it's too obsessed with sort of spending. So when departments want to do something, like, say, the levelling up agenda, there was a huge row, and as there was back then, between the Department for Levelling Up and the Treasury, because the Treasury didn't want to give more money to it. Now, I think, trying to take that part away from the Treasury and saying, right, you just focus on tax and spend and making sure that, departments are spending accordingly. But the growth agenda, so where investment in the UK, or devolving powers to local mayors, devolving income tax to local mayors and local authorities so they can spend a share of that. So it's not just coming into the Treasury, they're doing part of it. It's basically taking power away from the Treasury, which has been tried multiple times before.
Do you think it'll succeed?
I don't think it will, actually, because I do think, funny enough, this is a time where actually we do need more of a Treasury that is fiscally responsible. I want a Treasury that is saying to people, no, you can't actually spend. I want to say that actually you've got to cut taxes to create growth, not about spending more money, not giving more money away.
We've got a government who believes that if you increase taxation, the most successful will be, you know, punished because we don't believe in aspirational success, and that money will trickle down. The response is 16,000 millionaires have left this country, and nobody in the Labour government has gone, I wonder how much tax that's cost us.
Yeah.
Aspiration building a business is down the toilet. If you increase NI on all businesses who are then going to close their doors, or you've got energy prices that mean that businesses can't get this to work, you're shooting yourself in the foot again and again and again.
Totally, and it's that age-old saying, you know, who is, you know, the bedrock of our economy? It's small and medium-sized businesses. You know, it's not, you know, individuals and business and enterprise creates jobs and growth, not governments.
But Beth's in Lancashire. Have you been to Lancashire?
I have.
Morning, Jez and the brilliant Charlie. My obsession is Matt Vickers, and he wasn't on the show last week. Please, can we have him at least twice this week? Oh. Well, he's on detox, not detox. What did I say? He's on detox. He's on. Sorry, Matt Vickers. I do apologise. I've just outed you as a raging alcoholic. He's not at all. Matt Vickers is on. What's it called? What's that? What? Recess, not rehab. He's not in rehab, he's on recess. Matty will be back. Talking about Matt's in Redcar, not the other Matt, he's in rehab. I'm joking. Hey, Jez, why is no one going after the boat manufacturers and suppliers? It's not something you can pick up at most stores, so it should be easy to track. These are knowingly supplying people traffickers. That's a good point.
That is a very good point. And those boats, they tend to be made in sort of China, and they think, and they find their way across into Europe. And we had a story over the summer. This mega dinghy that, you know...
Oh, my God, 230 people. More than the plane.
Yeah.
More than my plane.
Absolutely. Now, why on earth does anybody need a dinghy that has 200... It could host 230
Who builds that?
people?
That's a really good point.
It's Chinese production or from Taiwan, and it'll come into, as I say, the European market. And but it's a bit like these, you know, zombie knives that you can get online, and you can still buy. Who on earth needs a weapon like
I did that when I did JK Live. We ordered one, and it arrived here. It's just two of them through the security to do it on television.
But it shouldn't be passing. I mean, who manufactures it? But B, how on earth it gets through sort of customs and checks and all the rest of it?
He says I've got that many children. I could do with a mega dinghy. Says Christian.
Well.
He's a bit feisty this morning, my producer. Shall I tell you why?
Go on.
Date night last night.
Was it?
The mother-in-law has come from Warsaw. Yeah, think it out. She go and have a nice time. And he admitted, because Mark's right. He's gone out, he's got a little bit tipsy, and we believe there's a systematic campaign to create baby Mitchell #2. It's all I'm saying. Not while the mother-in-law's in the house. Really? Oh, OK. Oh, well, she'd be in the West Wing, wouldn't she? Well, she's quite near. So, yeah, he's a bit feisty this morning because he's been out on the lash.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I don't know what a date night feels like, Jeremy.
Why do you play this sympathy card?
Nobody
wants to take you out.
No one calls, no one texts, never been kissed.
That's true. Tess Tickles in Nottingham.
Is she?
Yeah. Good morning, Jez and Charlie. My obsession is a bit of exercise, a warm down stretch and a good scratch.
Well,
That's from Tess Tickle. Have a blessed day. I bless it well will. Damon from Wigan. That poor lady who hasn't got a mug yet, that sums you up. You've let this lady down, Carl, and that is why Sir Charlie is fast becoming... Right, just bring that in here, the face of British television. He wouldn't let the British public down if they wanted a mug. Rory, right, let's just do this. I'm going to prove this on television. Rory, we're not putting your shirt on television. Right, that is one of those envelopes that you put things in, right? Look, hold on. Talk mug, envelope. Talk mug. Don't come back. I can't post it. I'm doing a show. There you go. Right, get her address. Put her thanks, so sorry we're used to this. Lots of love, Jez and Charlie. Let's go. It's on the way. Can I just bear in mind, for a company that's taken them 14 weeks to sort out the air conditioning, if you think that's going in the post before next year, you're absolutely wrong. It's going to have to go down to the post room where the man's going to have to tick the box, but he's on holiday for 2 weeks and it was on the trolley, so you might get it for Christmas. But the mugs are on the way.
There you go.
So Damon, don't be horrible. JK, Andy from Bournemouth, I'm obsessed with talking about the weather. It's raining in Bournemouth. Good for the grass, the rain.
Quite right, too. We need a bit of rain. Although I'm slightly...
Wet around the edges, what?
Well, I've been a bit sort of... The weather has affected me quite a bit,
Has
I
it?
have to
Why?
say. It has... I'm not one of these that are going to say it's too hot or it's been too hot, but it has been too hot.
Oh, don't you start. You're not one of those people, because the minute it starts, oh, it's too wet, too cold, too rain, too dark, It's been summer, man.
I know, and I've been...
Stop all the doom and gloom. Have a glass of English sparkling wine.
Well, I should have done, really, but I ended up just having lots of naps in the afternoon and coming out more in the evening than...
you came out in the evening, did you?
Then I've been staying inside in the afternoon.
I love you, Charlie.
But I'm not one of these people who are now going to start saying that we need to... I mean, we should have built more reservoirs,
just a bit, probably,
to deal with it. But we're surrounded by water. You can purify it, you can make it
I don't want to be ever saying to people that I would condone breaking the law, but I got past the hosepipe ban because, did you not hear this? My pipe now identifies as a watering can, so they can sod off. My obsession, says Derek in Newell in Derbyshire, for the past 2 years has been this useless, inept and pathetic at best so-called government. That is until a week ago when our cat Cesare, is Cesare? Caesar? Well, yes, Caesar was Ghanaian, brought us a present. He had regularly given us presents like wood pigeons and other birds, mice, foals, frogs and even 2 young bats, but his latest has driven me mad. He's brought a young rat into the house. Could we find it? We've had the house upside down, so I got 3 rat traps and some rat poison, not used yet. Well, I'm over the moon to say that we have now caught and disposed of said rat, but I am now worried that it may have been pregnant, so off we go again, searching and checking rat traps. For anybody tuning in, that's the most bizarre message I've ever had in my life. So you've got a cat who brings back a live rat that then starts to procreate under your floorboards. This is why pets are not a good idea, honestly.
Oh, no? You're anti-pet?
No, I'm not anti-pet, but I just don't want them bringing... No.
Those kinds of presents aren't necessarily...
You're into animals, aren't you?
I like cats.
Do you?
I've got a couple of cats at home.
Have you?
Well, in family home, not in London.
You're not allowed there, though, are you?
You're
not allowed to go to the family home.
Not since the incident.
No, the incident wasn't great, so he's been estranged, which is why he doesn't get to leave the house.
But I did think about getting a dog at one point.
Did you?
Yeah, because...
What sort of dog would you have got?
Oh, just a small... Dachshund or Jack Russell or something.
Something like that.
No, I think a Jack Russell, but they are, but I live in a flat and I'm not sure if that's the best thing. They'd be great company for me.
You're painting a very sad and sorry picture. Let me tell you all the truth here. This man's got a life of Riley. He's out every single night on the sauce, having a wonderful time. We love having you on this show. Your weird obsession is biscuits. You're very honest about reform. You're very honest about Andy Burnham. Do you, just very quickly, do you think Burnham will call a snap election, as many people are talking about now?
I personally don't think he will, because I still think there is too much risk.
Yeah.
In his mind, I think, because he's got until 2029 at least. He's got 3 years. He can be prime minister and do a lot of things. If he calls a snap election now, he will lose seats for sure. He doesn't know what kind of predicament he'll find himself in, and his authority will be waned when you lose seats.
Debbie's been on again. Morning, Debs.
Oh, thank you so much. You've made my day. I love you. Thank you. That's one great bit of news. Now we just need to get rid of Labour. And then I'll be a happy little girl. Thanks, guys.
Guys? It wasn't guys. You didn't do anything. I did it. We're trying to get rid of Labour. The mugs are sorted. Charlie, we love you so much indeed. What are you up to today? Nothing, no friends, hasn't got anything.
No friends, no. I might go for a little swim this afternoon. How about that?
He'll be outside this studio for an hour waiting for the restaurant to open because it's a subsidised breakfast. 03 44 499 1000. Text to 87222. You would talk breakfast for home of common sense. That was Charlie Rowley, Lord Rowley, back on Friday. We're back with Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, discussing everything that's happening. That, my friends, after the news at 7 on Talk Breakfast.
not-so-small boat crisis. And there's a picture of the boat, and they've got a little wording in a little circle that says picture continued on the back, and they've actually put it's so big they've put it across the front page and the back page of the newspaper. I mean, this is absolutely huge.
It is. By definition it is. And they're getting bigger all the time.
Getting bigger. What's
not really sure that you can call it a small boats crisis anymore.
It's a 49-foot dinghy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The entire city is being overwhelmed, and there are people who bear direct responsibility. Those responsible are the national government, led by Pedro Sanchez and his ministers, as well as Mr. Marlaska, and of course, the European institutions, which have completely failed in what's supposed to be the European Union's external border.
Which country in Europe wipes everybody else's backside but its own people? Here.
Well, Morocco, of course, is hosting the next World Cup. I mean, are we suggesting that...
Oh, don't start me on the World Cup. We'll get
the country that's hosting the next World Cup is too unsafe. It's so unsafe.
Oh, great point.
That people have to cross continents to come to Europe. And of course, I have seen personally examples of this. People come from Morocco into Spain, across to the mainland, up France, through the south of France, up to the north of France, where they reach Calais and then eventually come to the UK.
It is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
Some of you might remember a poster I put out 10 years ago called Breaking Point, where I showed vast numbers illegally breaking into the European Union. I made the point that if we vote for Brexit, we'll have the power to stop those people coming here. Sadly, the Tories failed us, Labour have failed us. Believe me, unless we get a reform government, those scenes you're seeing in Spain today, many of those young men, lots of them dangerous, will be heading towards Calais and coming to our country too. It is time to wake up. This is a battle for the future of our civilization. I can't put it any more plainly than that.
When you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do. And it's happening again today. They're coming in by the tens of thousands. They're just invading the country. And what that is weak law, bad management, but very liberal law. They passed a couple of laws, and people read. You know, people are smart. They read from other countries, and they swam that 3-mile sweat wall, however they got in, but nobody's seen anything like it. That will look good compared to what's going to happen to the United States. The biggest thing, the worst thing that Biden did is allowing 25 million people into our country.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back or welcome along. Where you been? Just gone 7 o'clock, Wednesday morning, 19th of August. You would Talk, of course, the home of common sense, and the place where your views on the day's news are always welcome. 0344 499 1000 is my telephone number. You can send a voice note on that same number, apparently via WhatsApp. I don't know what it is. You can text 87222. Start your message with the word Talk. Now, most shows would concentrate on this breaking news. Push the breaking news thing. Oh, there we go. Inflation. Here's a shock. But actually, let's just do this, right? if you've been shopping recently, you've been to a petrol station or you've been to buy anything, you'll know that everything's more expensive. So it is no shock to me that inflation has just risen to 2.9% due to energy bills in July. So inflation, which is supposed to be kept down because otherwise prices go up, has gone up. Is that a shock? No. Do we need to sit around and talk about it? No, because we're screwed. And shall I tell you why we've got no money? Because we give money to lots of other people. I'm more interested in the fact that a breaking exclusive YouGov poll, which gives me great confidence in you, the British public, more Britons believe that efforts to stop small boat crossings are more likely to succeed by standing up to the French rather than cooperating. A majority of people now saying, do you know what? We're weak, aren't we? We're lily-livered. We need to just say, no, you're not having your 500 million quid. No, we're going to do something about benefits. We're going to do something about making this country less damn attractive for people to come here and sponge off us. Oh, that's going to upset the left. How can you say that? They're all coming from Eritrea. No, they're not. And by the way, France isn't a war-torn country, so stay there. Oh, no, I know why. It's a tent. Four-star hotel tent, I'd probably get on a boat. Morning, Jez. This is brilliant. It's like what am I doing? A national weather service here. Paula James in Bexhill-on-Sea. Just to let you know, it's rained for about 10 minutes in Bexhill half an hour ago. Right, brilliant, fantastic. I remember doing a breakfast show once and being told off. It was about my third time I'd ever done it. And this bloke, it was a music station, not going to lie. And he had to start at 6 o'clock. And I thought it would be, because I was tired, so I thought it would be a really good idea to play 16 songs to the news at 7 o'clock, just so I could have a little rest. And this bloke left a really angry message going, I need to know what the weather's like today, the traffic... And so I literally went on there and said, look out the window, you lazy git. Got told off. It's true, isn't it? I don't need to tell people what the weather's like. Just have a look out your own window. Morning, JK. Where's Charlie? He's gone. Oh, he's back. What is he back? He's just walked through the door. Why? Come back on. We don't care. Everybody who lives in the real world knows that if you're getting deeper in debt, you have to cut your expenditure and prioritise your spending. Why anyone would think, for example, 100 million for a bat tunnel was a priority is beyond me. Trevor, don't start. Can I have a talkTV mug note? You don't start that rubbish. We haven't got the budget. Yeah, you can if you want. From Bet. Oh, Bet. Never mind. Jez, surely the reason so many are able to reach the French coast is due to the open borders throughout Europe, which enable smooth passage to the boats. Completely agree. And I also am one of those people who believe, and I mean this, that Europe is less likely to help us, right, because we left the European Union. And I think there's a way that they're trying to punish us as well. Sean Cooper, you can order the mega dinghies online and have them delivered to your door. Let's order a mega 230-seater dinghy and get it delivered to News UK, and we can put all the people who are... Never mind. Morning, Jez and Charlie. At what point is Burnham going to go grey? Don't start... Why does this have to be a discussion? Doesn't normally take long, and Burnham is creating the conditions of stress for himself to go grey. Dean in Cornwall. There are ways to avoid going grey. Mark and I haven't reached out to them yet. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to a man who also doesn't know what Grecian 2000 is. A man who was the Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, former Conservative MP for the Ribble Valley, now writing a book that's taking him on a world tour, so we don't know where the hell he ever is. Morning, Nigel Evans.
Good morning from Bromley, and can I have a talk mug as well? Because I've just got this one with Adam Bolton on it, so, you know...
Well, I don't know what to say about that. No, I think you need to get rid of that. Yeah, right. Can you get one in the post to Nigel Evans, please? Poor bugger. You're in Bromley. That's nice. How are things? Anyway, I haven't spoken to you for a couple of weeks. Have you missed me?
No, they're all right. I have been wandering around. I went to Dubai for 10 days to write my book, and so I'm very pleased with the progress that it's making, Jeremy. So, is
it a genuine question? I found it really hard. Do you find it hard, or do you find it easy? Do you have moments when you get inspired and moments when you'd rather just seriously tear it all up and start again?
No, I'll tell you what it is. I did 8 chapters out of sequence on my trial, and I was exhausted after doing that, and so I almost lost the will to carry on writing the book, and so I stopped for about, best part of a year.
Yeah.
And I've now restarted, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm up to 1997.
So I'm still not in the book yet, no?
No, I'll tell you, do you remember the Winchester by-election when Jerry Malone lost by 2 votes? He went to the High Court and the High Court found in his favour and they rerun the election and he lost by, I think it was 23,000 in the end.
Couldn't make it up. Couldn't make it up.
Oh, brilliant. Now, my friend, I want to ask you about this. I mean, a French politician overnight, I can't even say his name, has demanded Brits hand over more cash to tackle migrants as he branded the UK a permanent attraction. 250 more migrants arriving on 3 boats on Monday night, taking the total since the Messiah of Manchester took over, 3,500. Also, the other great story this morning, Gosport. Apparently the Home Office are rushing through plans to build one of the biggest national migrant detention centres on Gosport seafront. It's going to house 600 foreign criminals and illegal migrants. You and I have talked about this incessantly. Who the hell do the French think they are? Can you, as a politician of 30 years experience, explain to me? Imagine I'm the Prime Minister and I'm going to say this to you. Nigel, why are we giving the French 500 million quid when they're basically letting people come through and just standing there? What are we doing that for?
That's right, yeah. They're only stopping 1 in 3 boats, so 2 in 3 are getting over. This French politician, I can't pronounce his name either, what he's asking is for even more money. Now, it's not just 500 million, because, as you know, they're also going to give a bonus of 150 million. For what? I'm not exactly certain. But this guy is right when he says that the United Kingdom has become a permanent attraction to these illegal migrants. They're absolutely spot on. We've become the theme park for France, where they're offloading all these illegal immigrants that have come into France. It's not a war zone. I was in France just the other day. There is 10 million Brits who go to France every year. And they don't go to war zones for their holidays. France is absolutely superb. And if they are genuine asylum seekers, then, of course, they ought to be claiming asylum in the first safe country they go to. I suspect France isn't the first one. No. They could be claiming it in Greece or in Italy. None of these are war zones either. And we are picking up the dregs of the rest of Europe. They're happy to see them go. And it's costing us absolutely billions of pounds. The hard-pressed taxpayer. We've got all this meddling, the tinkering. I call him the great tinkerer, and that is Andy Burnham, who talks about shutting down the Treasury here, shifting it to the north. It doesn't really matter because the United Kingdom is broke. We've run out of money, and we are spending the borrowings, the ever-increasing borrowings. Never mind the inflation. It's no wonder inflation's just hit 2.9%. Jeremy, it's because the government is spending money it hasn't got. Yep. And this year we are borrowing £135 billion. The interest alone this year is £109 billion. And to put that into context, we're spending £65 billion on defence. Now, if we were only shifting more of that money onto defence, we could get it into the channel and stop these boats from coming in the first place.
So I have to ask you, of 30 years' experience, what I ask all politicians, because I don't understand it genuinely, why in the name of God can't the common sense view that you've just quite brilliantly outlined, why doesn't that permeate into the brains of one of the people, be it Shabana Mahmood, the Prime Minister, whoever? What is it? I mean, I have somebody here who says, listen to this, Paul in Mercia. Good morning, Jez. Labour want to open borders so they can increase their voting base. Is it that? Or is it this obsession that we have to hold on to the belief that, you know, Great Britain's great and you know, it's always been important that we show the world how good we are? Because I'm with Paula. She says, whatever happened to charity begins at home. You have to think about your own people at this moment, especially when you're skint, don't you?
Yeah, it does make you think why it is that the government aren't getting a proper grip of this. If they only had as much focus on this as they do on spending taxpayers' money, then surely they can come up with some effective means of doing it. I read in the papers today, for instance, that the Home Office, which of course is in charge of all these illegal immigrants coming in, are spending £4.5 million on electricity charging points in order for the civil servants who bother not to work from home but actually come into the office so they can charge their electric cars. This money ought to be all targeted towards stopping these small, well, they're not in small boats anymore, Jeremy. 230 came over on one boat. Yesterday, 250 illegal immigrants came into the United Kingdom. Instead of having a COBRA meeting about the weather, why are they not having a COBRA meeting about what is a national emergency. That's what when the national emergency notification should have gone on Friday, telling us how many people have come into the United Kingdom because the government has lost grip. It has lost the grip and the desire and the need and the focus to stop the illegal immigrants coming into the United Kingdom from the first place. All Burnham cares about is all these people are coming in, whether they should go into the leafy areas of the United Kingdom, instead of focusing on the core problem, which is that they're coming into the United Kingdom in the first place.
If you were Prime Minister and I was asking you this question, how would you answer it? You made a commitment in your manifesto, Prime Minister, to stop the boats. Does that start from day one, and if so, how?
Yep. And we can judge his record already, Jeremy, that since he became Prime Minister, 3,500 people have illegally entered the United Kingdom. They're again costing, just that alone, hundreds of millions of pounds, even on the judgment of that alone. And what is he doing? He's tinkering around the edges, you know, the bus fares thing, the little bit on electricity, where households will save 85 pence a week. So he's tinkering at the edges and hoping that people will not notice.
How would you stop the boats, Nige? How would you do it?
Absolutely. I would use the Royal Navy, number one, and use drone technology to target them and to ensure that we had Royal Naval boats in the Channel and turning these boats around. Number two, anybody who entered the United Kingdom illegally is already guilty of a crime. They would be therefore deported to a third country where we would do deals. And the person who has then been deported would be banned from ever legally entering the United Kingdom ever again. They wouldn't go to hotels. They wouldn't go to houses of multiple occupation. They wouldn't be working on bicycles delivering food around the country. No, absolutely, they would be deported from day one. We need to leave the ECHR. Kenny Badenoch is absolutely right. We've got to take back control in the United Kingdom. We don't want lefty lawyers who take politicians to court who are only trying to defend our island.
Couldn't agree more. I've always said that one of the big issues for me is this detention centre, and I'm not upsetting the Scottish by saying this. I'd find an uninhabited island in Scotland and build somewhere that, not nastily, but it billets, and there will be midges, and it's not 4-star, but big argument overnight as well in Gosport in Hampshire. Don't know if you heard this. The local council leaders have accused the government of fearing scrutiny by rushing through plans to build one of the biggest migrant detention centres on the seafront in Gosport, will house 600 foreign criminals and illegal migrants. How do you feel about that?
I think it's bonkers. And there again, what are they doing? They're focusing on where are they going to put the illegal immigrants rather than focusing on how are they going to stop the illegal immigrants. They should be focusing on spreading the misery around the UK. They just need to be focusing on what is necessary to stop the boats, and they're just simply not doing it. We know France we've got gendarmes on the Calais coast waving goodbye to illegal immigrants who are getting on these boats. Once they're on the boat, they are deemed that it would be dangerous to stop them. So the gendarmes, all they do is advise them how dangerous it would be for them to go, and then they wave them off. And then, of course, the United Kingdom welcome them in. And, of course, as I say, they're looking at places like Gosport. It could be anywhere. Yep. No place is now safe from Andy Burnham wanting to spread the misery.
Listen to this, Jason from Bristol. Just one question to you and Nigel. If we have to go into the Channel to collect these immigrants because it's unsafe for them to carry on, then the French are surely breaking international law by allowing these unsafe vessels to leave their shores in the first place.
Yeah, well, didn't one catch fire the other day? Yeah. And then it was sent back to France. And so what does it take? It takes for us to what? Set like... I'm not suggesting we do that. Of course I'm not. But the reality is that when there was an emergency, they were very happy to take that boat back. And so France should take the responsibility of taking these illegal immigrants back. It's about time the European Union got a grip about
They're not going to on our case, though, are they? Because of Brexit, they were never going to favour us. No, they're very happy for us to be screwed over, I would imagine.
Yeah, the Brexit thing is absolutely a red herring, because even when we were part of the European Union, the the Dublin Protocol didn't properly work. We were hardly sending any back. And of course, Jeremy, we've got this one-in, one-out scheme now with France, so that we are able to send illegal immigrants back to France, but they can send legal asylum seekers to the United Kingdom. But we're taking in more than we're giving them. And it's only a fraction of those that are coming into the United Kingdom, an absolute small fraction. The reality is, you forget the one in, one out. The fact is, it's one out and it's thousands in, and that is the real problem. And that's why they're looking at places like Gosport and other parts of the United Kingdom, houses of multiple occupancy. We're all supposed to go hallelujah when the Home Office, they've now discovered TikTok, haven't they, are putting out their own little videos saying how wonderful it is that they are reducing the number of migrant hotels around the country. But the reality is that they're not reducing the number of illegal immigrants into the United Kingdom. They've got to go somewhere.
Mate, finally, you're great. We love having you on. Andy Burnham, to me, seems slightly obsessed with buses. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Watch this. Watch this. Andy Burnham's obsession.
Some rules you look at and just think, how can that be fair? One of them is the 9:30 a.m. restriction on disabled people's bus passes. More local buses are coming under public control. These buses, very soon, are going to be back under public control.
I reckon, Nigel Evans, it's a weird obsession. So the only way to get through the madness of this show on a daily basis is to have a little bit of a light-hearted ring, because otherwise we'd all end up being so depressed. Any weird obsessions you're prepared to broadcast? Mine is mopping the floor, the marble floor at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I can't bear mud or bits. I'm terrible.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. I'm sure that there is a therapy available for you, Jeremy, on that front. Obsessions. I guess I've got an obsession with the news. You know, the 24-hour rolling news feed. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I reach for my phone, I switch it on, look at Twitter or whatever it's called these days, and I start scrolling, and I just can't stop myself. Literally, I can barely see, and I'm looking to see what the main breaking news is. And on Andy Burnham and his bus front, I talk about tinkering. That measure that he just announced is going to cost the Treasury £60 million of taxpayers' money. Really, and that's whether there's a total uptake on it. It is literally tinkering. If you go to places like the Ribble Valley, there's hardly any buses in most of the villages, Andy. Maybe Andy ought to get on one of these wonderful buses and start to get out a bit more, start to talk to ordinary people and just listen to what they've got to say. Whenever Burnham puts up one of his tweets, Jeremy, I always go to read the remarks of the ordinary British people and what they've got to say. And sometimes I'm crying laughing because they don't hold it back. Let's put it that way.
You're a good man, Nigel. Good luck with the book, and thank you as ever. We love having you on every single week. He's in Bromley next week. He'll probably be in Australia. And Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, thank you. 7:20. We're live across the UK for Wednesday, August the 19th. JK until 10. On the way, Robert Bates from the brilliant Centre for Migration Control. Your calls, your texts. We'll talk royals this hour as well with Dickie Arbiter, former Secretary to the Queen, a very important man, knew my father. And Dickie Arbiter, this is a big news story overnight, royal-wise. Earl Spencer, the brother, of course, of the late Diana Spencer, is writing a tell-all book. There was also some amazing footage yesterday from a woman who I think really deserves some credit, Queen Camilla. She's turned it round big time, and she was talking about how she was dealing with her husband's cancer diagnosis. All that with Dickie Arbiter ahead of 8. And next, Robert Bates and Talk Breakfast.
I've been seeing a lot lately in the right-wing press, write-ups about Kemi Badenoch. Isn't she doing well? There's a renaissance of the Conservative Party. Her personal vote seems to be going up. You know, the public like her. They think she's competent. They think she's decisive. And yet, the election results in Gorton and Denton and the Manchester mayoral recent election, but it tells a very different story where the Conservative Party itself seems to be losing deposits. It's doing so badly.
The Conservative Party is certainly not strong enough to be spending a lot of effort in by-elections where it doesn't have a cat's chance in hell of winning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. The only feasible option to stop the immigrants coming in from Calais that I can see, Jeremy, is to invade. Let's invade France, take Calais, kick out the migrants and the French. The French will surrender within 5 minutes. You know, the English have been slaughtering the French for hundreds of years. It's what we do. We're Englishmen. Anyway, just a thought. Great show, Jeremy.
I'm worried about you lot today. We can't give back the Bayeux tapestry. Now we should invade France. I understand the frustration, though. 7:25. Jez, Charlie, Paul, not in my truck this week, enjoying a nice week relaxed at the Clovelly Lakes or Clovelly Lakes with my wife. Thanks for the early morning laughs. Any chance of a mug? I'll send him one. Honestly, let's just send them all out and upset everybody in the building and then can't have a cup of coffee. Andy Burnham is so obsessed with buses that he seemingly forgot to phone Carl Turner. What is taking him so long? Do we know if Carl's back in the Labour Party? That's a really interesting thing to say. The wheels on the bus go round and round. This is apparently Andy Burnham's favourite song. At the exact moment, what's this say? Good morning, Jez and Chucky. Who's Chucky? Is that what he's called? Is that what Ian Collins calls him? Hello, Chucky. Nice. If I turned up in Calais tomorrow with no passport, the French authorities wouldn't bother with forensic questions or put me in a hotel. They know for a fact that I crossed from the UK, and they put me straight on the next boat back home. Why are we getting bogged down asking where dinghy migrants originally come from? We know for a fact they launched and sailed from France. Stop the forensic debates, put them straight on a bus back to France. There's plenty of buses available, obviously. Burnham. And follow standard border protocol instead of handing out hotel rooms. So far as I'm concerned, they're French people entering the country illegal. There you go, sorted. Very interesting. Let's say hello and good morning to a man who... I mean, I love this man. I think he's brilliant because he always generates such interest. Robert Bates is the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Jeremy. Yourself?
Well, I was all right until I read this French politician whose name I can't pronounce. Overnight, a French politician has demanded, watch Robert Bates' face, that we Brits hand over even more cash to tackle migrants. He said, we are a permanent attraction. Now, in that, he's absolutely right. We're too soft, but they've got some front, haven't they, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, he is right that we are a large part of the pull factor here, but I think, you know, this individual periodically, Xavier Bertrand, periodically pops up during this crisis to stick the boot in. He's a bit of a sort of French brute in that regard, and I think he really does have a lot of gall on this front, because we do know that the French are doing actually less and less as we're giving them more and more. The percentage of stoppings, the proportion of stoppings that they're actually carrying out is falling as the numbers coming across is actually increasing. And I think, unfortunately, this is just how the relationship now is going to be between Britain and France. I don't think there's ever going to be, especially whilst this crisis rumbles on, a huge kiss and make up session. I think really actually now we're at the point where we have to recognise that the French aren't playing in any sense of good spirit or any sense of actual cooperation, and we need to go down the approach of cutting off any one-in, one-out deal, any returns agreement, because it's simply not working. Stop giving them money and start taking matters into our own hand, which does involve detention and deportation. It does also maybe involve being a bit more forthright when it comes to picking migrants up when they are in the middle of the channel as well. We've done it very, very recently, of course. British vessels entered French waters just a couple of weeks ago on a humanitarian mission to pick up individuals that were in peril, return them to French beaches. And maybe that's something we need to start looking at a bit more as well. But I also think when you look at the attitude that we are seeing, not just from the French, but the Europeans, the Lib Dems' suggestion today that we somehow throw our lot in with the EU asylum pact looks absolutely absurd. These are now very sort of spurned lovers, and they're determined to use this crisis to get one over Brexit Britain.
That's exactly what I think, and yet nobody, you're the first person that I've heard say that for a long, long time. Did anybody really think that Europe's going to give a toss about Great Britain because we were brave enough to walk away from the European Union? Of course they weren't going to. But the thing I don't get, Rob, and I'm totally honest about this, is I don't understand how, whatever political persuasion you are, you can look the British public in the eye and say, I'm wasting £500 million this year, £500 million, giving it to a country. It makes no sense. You know, it's like the welfare thing with foreign people coming in and you know, not paying into a system and having their backsides wiped. Here's what I don't get, right? If people are still under the impression that the United Kingdom should be seen as the purveyor of morality and we're caring and we're sharing and our lives are so much better than those in Afghanistan and Eritrea, yeah, they are. But the fact is the matter, it's about relativity, isn't it? If you ask millions and millions of people in this country how things are, they'll say they've never been tighter. Taxation has never been higher. Public services have never creaked more. They can't see a doctor. They can't see a dentist. They're paying ever more in the cost of living, and it's becoming harder and harder and harder, which is why politics has blown up here. If you then say to those people, the little money that we have got, I'm going to give it to somebody else, it just doesn't add up, mate. I don't know why a politician hasn't worked out that unless somebody stops these boats, stops these people, and says to the British people, it might not be nice, you might have to use the channel, you might have to detain, well, you will have to detain and deport. Will it be ice-like? Everybody will jump up and down. I said it last week with Harry Redknapp, and it got massive, massive exposure, and the left went nuts. I went to take my son to do his theory test in Bournemouth. I hadn't been to Bournemouth for 5 years. Unbelievable. Illegal male migrants walking up and down the street. Don't give a damn if that offends anybody. Fact. No intention of working, smoking, swearing, drinking, leering. Fact. Take me on, anybody, right? That is not thinking about your own communities and your own people, irrespective of the financial aspects of that. And that is what is so wrong. I don't see politicians saying, it doesn't matter if I'm unpopular, Rob, right? I am stopping those bloody boats, I am putting the Navy in, and nobody is going to come here and have their backside wiped because I know my own people are suffering. That's all I want.
We don't get a look in it. And on the Bournemouth point, you're absolutely right. And I think that's sadly the story in towns and parts of cities all across the country, because, of course, they will say, well, you know, asylum seekers, illegal migrants are only a small part of the population. There's only a few there. But it actually only takes a relatively small number to own the public sphere with their behaviour and conduct. And I think that is tales you will get from the very, very tip of Scotland all the way down to Land's End of this sense of towns being overtaken in many ways. As for the financial element of this, we saw yesterday the Department for Work and Pensions released figures which showed the number of refugees, which is effectively what channel migrants are classed as once they get given asylum status, receiving universal credit has increased by 44% in just a year. And this is a situation that is clearly spiralling out of control, and our largesse, which no politician has ever actually been able to sit down and say to the British people, look them in the eye and say, this is what we get for that money. What is the sort of return on investment, as it were?
Well, yeah, so the return on the investment from the British public's point of view, this will again get me into trouble, I suspect, is that we can't see a doctor or a dentist, that our public services are creaking, and many, I'm afraid, women and young girls are in danger from men who come from countries unvetted, who do not have, and I don't care to speak, that the truth has to be said, who don't have the same morality and, ironically, the same view towards how women should be treated that we do in the United Kingdom. And do you know, Rob, I had this discussion with one of them left-wingers some time ago, a female, I won't go into details, and she said, this was said to me, nearly fell off my chair, white men rape schoolgirls and women as well. How's that a justification? That is not a justification to allow your country to have people here, we don't know anything about them. That is not racist or far right, that is a fact. We have proven over the years, the latest example was Ukraine, that we have always tried to do the right thing. I am simply calling for my next government to do the right thing by the British people, that's all.
I mean, it is a big ask with the current sort of uni-party type situation. I would argue it's probably a bit far-fetched. I mean, maybe the Tories moving somewhat in the right direction to make recompense for their last time in government, but it does seem like such an alien concept. And I think really the way politics, and especially the way migration policy seems to work, is you have a load of individuals who feel rather inadequate, and thus they try and compensate for it by rather than actually doing the cold, hard facts of what they've been told to by the British public, is they go down these tangential routes of caring more about human rights or cultural relativism, which seems to be sort of polluting the minds of many in Whitehall, many MPs who simply, as you point out, do not recognise the link actually between different cultures and certain behaviours, especially towards women and girls. I mean, it is almost astronomically ridiculous that we are having to explain to people that individuals from countries, third world countries, culturally distant, do have attitudes that are inferior to those that are distilled in Britain. But this is where we are at now. This is where the cultural relativism, the human rights malaise has taken this country, that we're having to explain fundamentals to people who actually, I probably think, have a bit of a malignant streak in them as well, and actually quite enjoy seeing the disintegration of a once high trust, harmonious society into a fractured...
Who would want that then? Who wants that to be? Who are those people?
I truly believe that there are certain Labour backbenchers who perhaps they represent multicultural areas who think that actually the fragmentation, the tension is a price worth paying, because they think actually what they're trying to build is a utopia not rooted in anything that is actually Britain, not rooted in anything that actually is already here, but instead building up something from a blank canvas. And this is, of course, many left-wing individuals have this viewpoint that actually their job is to build a completely new society without any consideration to actually the fact that millions, tens of millions of people quite like British society and quite want it to stay as British society.
I get bored of myself actually on this, because it just doesn't go away, and we've talked about it so much. I think you can take from today that yeah, the French guy's right in that we are a permanent attraction, but he's also taking the mickey because we're giving them money to do nothing. I mean, people have said take away fishing licences. Either way, whatever the answer is, there has to be a hardening. There has to be a hardening of attitude, because, you know, you talked about the people in Whitehall. I'm still staggered that these people, these civil servants, have so much control, but then I can look on the other hand and say they've probably done 20 years and these politicians have no experience. But, you know, a democratically elected government of whatever colour should be able to judge the mood in this country right now. And the mood in this country is one of despair and unfairness, because it just doesn't seem to get better. What do you make, very quickly, of the government's also facing scrutiny today, Rob, by rushing through plans to be one of the biggest migrant detention centres in Europe in Gosport on the Hampshire seafront. It'll house 600 foreign criminals and illegal migrants. The locals are up in arms. The local councils say, why didn't we know about this? The government are patently trying to... I mean, we had the let's move out of hotels, and suddenly they're everywhere, right, in HMOs or what else. Now, only 600. That's not big enough. Or am I being cynical? Is it a good start? What do you make of it?
Well, we've got a very real shortage. The immigration detention state is about 2,500 beds, which, when you consider we've got 1 million illegal migrants in the country that need to be got rid of, and we've got tens of thousands coming over on the channel, and tens of thousands of foreign criminals being convicted every single year as well. You get a sense of the scale. I think you can deal with a smaller estate, but if you're prepared to really expedite people's processing through immigration detention centres, and that requires obviously overhauling the judicial review process and leaving the ECHR and so forth. But I do think Whitehall, whether it's immigration detention estates or it's asylum accommodation, needs to get a better grip of building those relationships with local authorities, and can't keep going down this route of heavy-handed, top-down imposition, because that really does erode public trust. That really does make people feel the social contract is broken, and gives a greater sense of powerlessness than we already have when we're watching hundreds of men invade our country pretty much every single day at this point. So I think the Whitehall has a lot more to do in terms of how it actually communicates with people on this.
Mate, it's always a pleasure. You know what I think of you. Robert Bates, Research Director of the Centre for Migration Control. Check it out. Thank you so much indeed, Robert Bates. 20 minutes to 8 o'clock, live across the UK. As I said before, 8 o'clock, Dickie arbiter, former press secretary to Her Majesty the Queen, former royal journalist, talks about this revelation overnight that Earl Spencer, the late Diana's brother, is going to write a tell-all book. Next, though, the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland, Sam Rushton, or even Rushworth, is on the Jeremy Kyle Show Breakfast Show, the other side of this. But, oh, really? Debbie again?
Hi guys, it's Debbie from Bedford. For my mugs, which I really, really, really appreciate, I've got my coffee machine all ready for them, as you know, #1 Talk fan. My address is, my name's Debbie. My address is that's Midlands, postcode A. That's good. Thank you guys, I really, really appreciate that. So, please, am I getting my mug? Or am I going to be made to look a mug?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Wednesday morning, 20 to 8. We're live across the UK with Talk, the home of common sense and the place where you can get a mug. If you call Debbie, it's coming. We've got your address. There's 2 mugs. It's going to be lovely. Joanne in Bridlington, you've just dropped me in this, Debs. I'm having a nightmare now. I hear there's a new English phrase book being given out to migrants landing on the beaches. And the first one is, you can phone up Talk and they'll get you a mug. Brilliant. That's great. So we're now going to be infiltrated by illegal migrants demanding a Talk mug. This is interesting. Ruth, here's a simple answer, JK. UK gives up 1 mile of its sea border and channels. There is a 1 mile of international waters between the national waters. Then we can leave them there or tow them out like Australia did. Australia? UK can't patrol and protect it anyway. Cheers for the call-out, says Paul. The wife was quite excited to hear it read out. Thanks for the confirmation of a mug. Shall I send you my address? Honestly, oh, Jesus, Talk. Morning, JK. Great show as always. It's dead easy, stop the boats. God, I can't do this. Dan in Leek in Staffordshire, just fill the channel with sharks, piranhas and crocodiles. That's brilliant. Well, that's along with the Bayeux Tapestry and invading France. Those are the top 3 outrageous things this morning. Morning, Jess. Can I have a mug, please? Mark on the Isle of Sheppey. Please reply and I'll send you my address. Morning, Jez. In regards to bus fare Burnham, if Andy were to drive the bus and Ed Miliband the conductor, you could have a great sequel to On the Buses. The makings for that could go into the Treasury coffers. Keep up the good work. Love the show. Ian's in Australia. Of course, you love your life, don't you? Because it's bright sunshine, peeing with rain here. See, I've fallen into the trap. Everybody's mad. Honestly, can I just fill you in on the air conditioning if you're just tuning into the show? I mean, it has been... The people, especially Lauren, have worked so hard in this building to get it sorted. It's taken most of the summer, during the heat wave, literally roasting, sitting in a sauna. Today, much colder, came in a hoodie, walked into the studio, minus 15 degrees, because it suddenly worked. So I've turned it up, and now we're sweating like pigs. The whole thing is beyond me. 0344 499 1000. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. This is Phil again. Just reference to Andy Burnham's favourite TV show being on the buses. I think we should now start calling him Blakey.
Oh, God. I'm having one of them mornings, 0344 499 1000. Can we say hello? Darren Lawton, a good friend of mine, Dazza, he's on the way to work. We're going to his son's wedding next week in Spain. Very excited. Need to talk to you about dress code later, DL. He says, can you please bring some mugs next week to the wedding as a gift? Oh, for God's sake, who started this ridiculous... Have we got any budget? I didn't start it. Oh, I promised one to Debbie. Right, well, I'm going to have to pay for them all to be made. This is fine, OK. Right, 0344 499 1000. We're next delighted to be joined with the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland. We balance it as best we can on this show, Sam Rushworth. Sam, good morning. You're not getting a mug.
That's fine.
Brilliant. Well, you did... Come on, Sam, you can do comedy. My friend, welcome to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. And thank you, because it is important that we get as many sides as we can. Let's start with this French politician in your mind. So many people. There's a YouGov poll out this morning, which I'm sure you'll know about, Sam, by now. A majority of Britons believe that efforts to stop small boat crossings are more likely to succeed by standing up to France rather than cooperating. That's an exclusive YouGov poll. It doesn't seem to me that we're in any different a position than we were under Keir Starmer, or in fact under the Conservatives. Since your man Andy Burnham became Prime Minister a month ago, 3,500 migrants have come into this country. You're going to tell me the weather. Well, the bottom line is, in my opinion, and I think this French politician overnight who wanted more cash is a joke, but he does make a really good point. He's branded the UK, Sam, a permanent attraction to so many. What's your take on that?
A couple of thoughts. I mean, obviously, as you've already alluded to, that the summer is always the time that we see the most small boat crossings. But what we also know is that they're about half what they were at the same point last year. So progress has been made over the last 12 months. With regards to this French politician, look, he's doing exactly what you would expect a politician to do. You have to remember that he is representing an area where these permanent camps set up, and the people in those areas don't like it, and predictably he is shifting the blame to England in the same way that our politicians like to shift the blame to France, because that's a very easy thing for politicians to do. But what we need is less blame shifting and more getting on with the firm actions to stop the small boats from crossing.
So let me jump in and say that to you then, right? So and I'm delighted that you make it about that, because it's important. This is not just Labour, by the way, my friend. I said it to the Tories. I don't understand why we are, A, giving the French £500 million when we are in dire straits. Inflation this morning went up to 2.9%. We can talk about the war, which I'm sure you will, but the fact is people's lives, the cost of living, it's really hard for them. To give 500 million or half a billion to a country that is, by all intents and purposes, not helping us. I don't care what anybody says, we've seen the pictures. That doesn't make sense. What is Labour's policy about stopping the boats? In plain, simple terms, Sam?
60% of small boat crossings this year have been stopped.
How?
So that's more than
How?
half. 60% have been stopped. Well, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of mythology around this sort of idea that the French just sort of waved them off. That's not actually true. 60% of small boat crossings have been stopped. We need to stop it at source. So you need to look firstly at, yes, how do we police the actual coastline? But the problem with that is that these criminal gangs, it's a sophisticated, organised crime, and they're quite good at shifting tactics. One of the recent tactical shifts is that they take off from Belgium instead of France, for example. So it's not just about that. It's also about disrupting the business model, and that's why it's important that we set up safe legal routes for genuine refugees and asylum seekers.
With respect, Sam, you're sounding like Starmer. Let's attack the gangs. What I'm saying to you is, whatever in my mind, whatever how people describe it, the Tories talked about Rwanda. Nothing happened. You guys have talked about tackling the gangs.
Failure.
No, absolutely, but you're now doing what you said other people are doing. What I'm trying to say to you is I actually don't care about... Hear me out one second, if you would. I don't care about somebody's policies or what party they're from. I don't understand why it seems... Many politicians of many different persuasions cannot grasp how the British people in their majority do not understand why people are allowed to come to this country, Sam, not from war-torn countries, who leave their wives and children behind and travel across 7 countries. And the assumption by many, which I think is true, is that we give away too much to these people to the detriment of working Brits, the people that I speak to every day. And no politician ever says to me, yeah, you know what, I think we do give away too much, because I'm telling you that's what the British public think, and that's not far right or racist or unfair, because I think we proved, didn't we, as a country with Ukraine, that we have the heart to do it. But I think there's a massive frustration now, mate, that we seem to care more about looking good or doing the right thing, I don't know the right way to put it, to the detriment of our own people. Get out there and ask them in your constituency. I guess they'd say the same.
I do, and I know what people think about this, but I think, to me, the dividing line in politics today is not whether or not we think this is a problem that needs dealing with. I don't think you'll find many politicians who are willing to sort of say that we don't need to care about this. I don't want to see a single person coming undocumented on a small boat to our country ever again. I don't want that. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. But, you know, and you've already said that the Tories share just as much blame as the current government. I don't think you're quite giving us enough credit for the fact that the numbers are half and we've stopped 60% of crossings this year. But what I think is the dividing line is between those who seem to think that there's a sort of wave a magic wand solution to this and those who understand that actually it's more complex. And, you know, recently we had Farage talking about putting the Navy in the Channel. But, of course, he himself, 2 years ago, when the Conservatives proposed that, was a big critic of the policy and said that they'd just be rounding up dinghies. Jeremy Clarkson, not a known Labour supporter, also criticised his policy. It would indeed be, as Jeremy Clarkson said, logistically absurd. It would be bonkers. It wouldn't work. And this is what we've had, is policy after policy that doesn't work. And what we need to do is what does work. And so, as I'm saying, it's partly about the policing of the Channel. We are paying the French to do that. They are doing it. They're not doing it to our satisfaction. There need to be
then
conversations.
Stop the money. If they're not doing it to satisfaction, tell the French that we're not going to give them the money.
Disrupt the business model of the people smugglers. And part of that business model is that people are prepared to pay very large sums of money to take this big risk crossing the Channel.
I get that, and I've got one more.
We need those people to know that if they come here and they are not a genuine refugee, they do not have a legitimate claim to asylum in our country, they need to know that their claim will be processed quickly and that they will be returned.
But Sam, the question, the one final question is: do you believe, as a Labour MP, and I take your points, that's what this show is about. Debate is about that, right? Because we all, as you say, want an answer. Do you believe we give too much, we're too attractive, with a land that gives more? That's the attraction. Because I tell you what, mate, there's a lot of people that think we give too much. Loads of them.
So I mean, look at what they get. If you are an asylum seeker in an asylum hotel, you get £10 a week, or less actually, it's £9 something a week. To pay for your sort of toiletries and essentials. If you're an asylum seeker that's in a self-catering situation, you're given less than £50 a week. This is far less than a British person on the welfare state. So I don't think it's about what they're given. Actually, I think that's a myth, and I think the conditions that they live in are much harsher than most people realise. What I think there is a big
4-star hotel's harsh.
Well, but by the time those hotels are turned into asylum hotels, believe me, they are not 4-star. That is not the experience.
Let's agree to disagree, but I don't need...
That's not the experience of living in one. But I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors. And I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
Mate, listen, we'll agree to disagree, but you've just said it. You've just said what I've always suspected is central to many people's view, is that, as you said, we went around the world colonising, and that's why we should accept. And listen, you have your right to your view. People listening will have their right to their view. What?
That is why it's a pull factor for them to come. They want to live in a country where they can speak the language, where they've already got a
Half
support
of them
network,
can't speak
and
English
a lot
when
of them
they...
work illegally. And so
come
what
on,
we
Sam.
need to do as well is ramp up. We need to ramp up the raids of illegal working.
Sam,
and that's also
you're
what
not
we're
telling
doing.
me a majority of migrants who come to this country can speak English, are you?
A lot of them come because they feel they can work better in the English language than they can in many other European languages.
Explain to me then why they don't bring their wives and children. There was a man from the Labour Party who used to be Chief Secretary to Keir Starmer called Darren Jones, who on Newsnight, because I was watching the programme, said that the right don't understand this. 90%, he said, of those boats are full of women and children. The biggest load of claptrap I've ever heard in my life. If you, hear me out, if you were living in apparently this war-torn country, hear me out, right, and you had a wife and child, because I've desperately wanted to ask somebody from the Labour Party this for a long time, would you, A, bring your wife and child to make them safe, or would you, in fact, leave them there and cross 7 safe countries so that you came to England under the guise in your mind, Sam, that you speak the language or because we colonised your land? They're coming here, mate, because we get... Why don't they stay in France? It's safe, because you said it yourself. You said, oh, asylum hotels aren't great. They're better than a French tent, aren't they, on the beach? We give too much, mate. And all I'm saying is, in the past, maybe this doesn't sound right with you or sit right, but I think in the past, as a country, we did and do loads. But I have to put to all politicians this. We're skint. Inflation this morning, 2.9%. Over £100 billion a year on interest simply to cover debts we can't afford. I'm not blaming you for those debts right now. I'm blaming all governments. What I'm saying is, and I can't get this phrase out of my head and it's going to sound terrible and you're going to hate me, shouldn't we be looking at home first before we look abroad? Shouldn't we be saying to the people that you sit there in Bishop Auckland and say, oh, Brits aren't doing that badly, they're only getting £10 in migrant hotels. I went to Bournemouth and I put this out and people were like, oh, my God, that's true. I went to Bournemouth 2 weeks ago and took my son for his driving test, a theory test. Bournemouth was full of young migrant men walking up and down, drinking, smoking and leering, to the detriment, don't care what you say, Harry Redknapp came on with me, completely agreed with me, to the detriment of what was once a beautiful town. That is not good for those people. I don't believe that those young men came here to build great lives. Where are their wives? Why did they throw their papers in the sea? And why, seemingly, with respect to you, Sam, are we, in the eyes of many, treating them better than we're treating our own voting, tax-paying public?
What confuses me about your question is you still seem to think that that there's a difference between you and me in the degree to which we want this to be happening. There's not. We both want there to be 0 small boats crossings. But you're asking the question, so why are they mostly men? I mean, firstly, that there are a lot of women and girls, but you are right. I think that there is a much higher proportion of young men. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that in a conflict situation, they tend to be the most likely to be killed and recruited, but also it's because, as you know very well, a lot of these people are coming as economic migrants, or it's because they believe that if they make the dangerous crossing, they can then bring their family. And that's why one of the things this government has done, as I say, we need to disrupt the business model and make it less attractive. We have worked and got an agreement at the European Court of Human Rights called the Chenonceau Agreement, maybe you should cover it, where people cannot appeal to the right to a family life to bring family members in a way that they used to be able to do. That is one of the changes that we have made. Another thing that's important to note is the amount of people who come because they believe that they can work illegally, but there is a big black economy of illegal working. That's why we have increased immigration rates more than 100% since we came to power. So it's about getting rid of the reasons why they come. It's also about returning people. And the
one in, one out thing hasn't been a huge success, has it? So far, we're at 5,300 in and about 10 out.
But something has to explain the 50% drop in small boat crossings this year. The reason why that's an important model, actually, is that people need to know that if you spend a lot of money coming over here, there's a very high risk that you could just be returned straight back to France. Do you know what used to work, Jeremy? There was a time where 100% of them would be returned back to France because we were in the Dublin Agreement. Boris Johnson chose to pull us out of that with his reckless botched Brexit deal. We've left the Dublin Agreement. We can't just return people in the way that we used to be able to. That is one of the reasons why we've seen this industry start up. Another thing we can't do, we used to be in Eurodac, which was an intelligence service sharing information. You mentioned that they throw their documents in the bin. They do, and some of them arrive with false stories, and we don't even know what countries they come from. When we were in Eurodac, we could take their biometrics and we could link that to the European computer and we could see exactly what story they told in previous countries. We're no longer in that system. People in the Home Office are telling me that that is one of the single most important tools that they would have to police.
I'm not trying to stop you, Sam, because genuinely, I have the news, but that's one of the most interesting chats. And what I want to say is, and I mean this, I don't have to agree with you, you don't have to agree with me. That is the essence of debate. And as long as I'm doing this show, that is exactly what it's about. And I really mean this. I appreciate you coming on the show. Let's do it again some other time if you can. Thank you, Sam Rushworth, Labour MP for Bishop Auckland. We can agree to disagree, but it is a debate this country has to have. News at 8 is next on the home of common sense talk.
His own Farage Fest last night, which was held in a paddock about 12 miles from where I am here at the pier, and that's where he delivered his victory speech before the count came in, and some view that as deeply controversial.
If you went to do a victory speech at the count, what you'd have had is 30 chumps there, all sort of screaming and shouting and heckling and, you know, making a big distraction on stage. And I think he's gone, that is not the image I want projected via national television, going out to the whole of Great Britain.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Secretary has brought forward a very rigorous plan in relation to this, and let's remember, of course, the numbers can fluctuate, but overall boat crossings are down quite significantly year on year, so that does suggest that the plan is working.
We've just witnessed drone footage of the French authorities handing out life jackets to illegal immigrants and then waving them goodbye as they head on their way towards the UK. So the French are actively helping and facilitating illegal immigration. In addition to that, the French forces did nothing to stop that huge migrant dinghy. In fact, the dinghy came out, then it went back to the beach to pick up even more illegal immigrants and then departed for a second time. During all of that, the French did nothing, and they even handed out life jackets and waved goodbye as these illegal immigrants head towards the UK. I think that's terrible. I mean that anyone who did cross the channel and arrive in Dover could be immediately deported within around about a week.
Wait about a second, he's just dragging a line by the look of it.
Is that a warning shot towards us? I don't know.
Well, I was trying to work out.
Okay. The French officers could clearly see we were conducting an interview on the back of the fishing boat. They sailed extremely close to us and started firing gunshots, 11 live rounds. We could see the bullets hitting the water behind our boat. They weren't firing before their approach. They weren't firing afterwards. There was no notification of any kind of training exercise. So it did seem to me to be an effort to intimidate us.
The thing that I find, and I should say alarm clock Brits find so frustrating, Chris, and this is why I wanted you on this morning. Yesterday, finally, the unelected Messiah of Manchester stood up and said to consummate fury from most of us that Labour's plan to stop dinghy migrants is working. This, Chris, despite the fact that 1,000 illegal migrants have still come into this country in the last 9 days since he became Prime Minister.
Je suis un député dans le Parlement du Royaume-Uni. Why have you allowed the migrants into the water? Why haven't you stopped them?
Our order is to let them go like that.
Your order is to let them go?
We just have to say to them, don't do that, it's dangerous.
So your orders are not to intervene?
We have to protect them.
Well, there's also protecting the border as well.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back or welcome along. Well, that last interview with us before the 8 o'clock news with Sam Rushworth, the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland, has sent you lot into a spiral. Let me just repeat, we both, and I've said this before, the whole idea of this show is to get debate. It centred around a French politician overnight who demanded that Brits hand over even more cash to France. We're already giving them £500 million, in my mind, for standing there smoking Galois and doing absolutely nothing as people are loaded onto mega dinghies to come over to Great Britain because, let's be honest, peeps, my opinion this, you know, we give more. Hotels, mobile phones, credit cards. You can live illegally. You can do everything. Why would you not want that when there's a tent in France? And also, by the way, you know, it's not war-torn, all that. Sam Rushworth has a different view. He said, we want the same thing in terms of we want to sort this problem out. And you'll notice under Labour, boat crossings have gone down. Really? 3,500 since Andy Burnham came to power. Then he talked about the summer, and then he said something that I think is absolutely crucial, not just to Sam Rushworth and the Labour Party, but other people. He tried to talk about Brexit and the Dublin Agreement, but he said a lot of the people that come here speak English, and I challenged him and said, no, they don't. A lot of them don't. He said, well, a lot of them come because of the colonisation, the white colonisation of several parts of the world. So still in 2026, you have people in this country, politicians and the ilk, who believe that out of some misplaced guilt, we should allow our country to have people come here we know nothing about, who can be anybody and anything. And as I keep saying, I'm not going to go down the criminal route because many do commit crimes. But what I want to say is this. They come here and take from you, the alarm clock Brit, the stuff that we can't seemingly get. I said that to Sam Rushworth. They only get £10 a week. Try telling that to somebody who worked all their life, Sam Rushworth, who can't afford their bills, can't afford to heat their home because you took that away as well. Try telling that, really honestly, to people who are going to vote in the next election, because I would really, really strongly suggest, not just because of this station, forget this station. A lot of people use the same word to me the whole time right now, which is unfair. And that's what politicians do not seem to grasp. But I thought it was really interesting that the Labour Party MP there pointed out white colonisation. Morning, Johnny.
Morning, Jez. It's Johnny in the van. Just listening to your Labour man on there right now. These people don't get it, do they? He's saying, oh, well, you know, we've cut the amount of boat crossings by 50%. Well, even if you took that at face value, which I don't really believe, if I'm honest, but even if you took that at face value, there might be less boats coming, but there's just as many, if not more people, because the boats are bigger. And then he talks about, oh, you know, we've got to find safe and legal routes for these people and blah, 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 blah. What a load of old cobblers. These people are so out of touch. The British public don't want them here. They're not welcome. And we should just have the Royal Navy in the Channel pushing them back. Yeah, simple as that. We don't want them here. Stop them getting here. Do whatever it takes, yeah, but just stop them.
Paul says, Sam Rushworth has the guts to come on your show, good man, but blaming Brexit hints that he would take us back into the EU. Brexit was supposed to enable us to stop the small boats, but for various reasons, including our left-wing politicians who resist any attempt to stop them, Brexit has been a flop in that regard. Let's go to Lancashire. Mike, good morning. Not long. What do you want to say?
Good morning. Sam Rushworth is another Labour MP who is gaslighting people. He talks about the Dublin Agreement. The EU don't have the Dublin Agreement anymore. They have the EU Pact on Migration and Asylum, and that came out this year. Even Ed Davey is talking about joining it if he got the chance, which he hasn't. They're telling lies on top of lies, and at best they're either arrogant with it, or this Sam Rushworth, who should know better, is incompetent if he doesn't know the EU Pact on Migration and Asylum exists.
Mike, that aside, what did you make of his comment that one of the main reasons we should allow our country to have these people, unwanted people, is because of white colonisation? It's almost like payback. What do you make of that comment?
I think it's a feeble excuse. Feeble excuse. They know they're not doing the job right, and they've not got the gumption or intention of actually trying to stop them. There's lots of other ways they could remove that pull factor, and they prove they're not prepared to do it. And
Mike in Lancashire, you're a good man. I want to take one more call, then we get to Dan Hodges. Let's go to Paul in the South Coast. Ken, good morning. Couple of minutes. What do you want to say, pal?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm Ken the blacksmith in Paul, and I've spoken to various governments, Thatcher, etc. I say that Margaret Thatcher would never put up with this. The migrants coming over are illegal. They're breaking the law. That's our British law. They're breaking the law. They're already criminals coming and breaking our law. We should be looking after our own. We pay all these taxes. I pay quite a lot of taxes as a small business. And to be honest, we should stop all the hotels, any benefits. That will stop the incentive to come. Then we put the Navy in the channel, get our money back from the French, because 17.4 million of us voted that we didn't want migrants.
What did you make of his comment that one of the reasons that they come, it was almost as if he was saying we deserved it, white colonisation in the past? What do you make of that?
Well, this is Labour all over. Labour want to have a multicultural nation, as Blair said many years ago. They don't care about white English. They don't care about any colour British. All they care about is getting as many cultures here as possible, and they spend our money splittingly. They don't care how much they put us in debt, and we'll be in debt again when this government leaves. Like every time Labour's been in power, we end up being in debt at the end of their time.
Couldn't agree more. Good to have you on. Thank you, Ken. 0344 499 1000. Calls, voice notes, whatever. That migrant tracker, 80,576 migrants have arrived since Labour came to power. Sam Rushworth said that they'd halved. I don't think they have, but the bottom line is 15,000. Yeah, it's just 15,000 just this year, 16,000. My thing is, I think the white colonisation argument's an interesting one. That should get some debate going. My point is this. For years and years, Britain has done the right thing. I don't think, or the right thing in the eyes of certain people, because we were in a position to. I don't think your average Brit now, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, has the same sympathy or desire at all. And I think the word unfairness springs to mind. 8:10. Here's a man I love having on. He's really missed me, I bet you. Dan Hodges from the Mail on Sunday. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I have, mate. I have. Mornings haven't been the same. I hope you had a good break.
It was absolutely bloody awful. I had 6 children. Dan, honestly, I come back to work for a rest, mate. Have you tried Centre Parks? Lots of people swimming up to going, are you Jeremy Kyle? Yes, just seriously, leave me alone. It's too early in the morning, for Christ's sake. Anyway, back. You heard me interviewing Sam Rushworth there, and one of the big things I just wanted to start with, before we talk about Burnham and politics in general, this French politician overnight, Dan, whose name I can't even begin to pretend, has demanded that we hand over more cash to tackle migrants as he branded the UK a permanent attraction. Now, I actually think we are a permanent attraction. I've said this for a long time. I think we give too much out. Sam Rushworth from Labour there saying all these poor people are only on £10 a week. But the point that I jumped in on, I'd love your take on this, he sort of excused migration by saying it was down to our white colonisation in years gone by. That's a bit out of touch, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I missed it, but I've been sitting here quite amazed at you. I mean, I'm going to take it on face value. That's what he said.
No, he did.
Said.
I promise you.
And I'm just flabbergasted at that comment. I mean, you know, the reality is, you know, we can have a sort of a broader debate about the history of empire if we want, but that effectively, you know, well, it didn't effectively. That literally ended about 150 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, none of your viewers, nobody paying taxes, nobody living in Britain today was responsible for colonizing anyone. And the idea that, you know, that ordinary working Britons have somehow some debt that they need to repay on, you know, some working class family in Kidderminster has to
absolutely
pay a debt on behalf of the East India Company is frankly ridiculous. And I've got to be honest, I've never even heard of this guy. You
and I, mates, we're going to get it clipped up and you can hear it, because I'm being straight. My point is, I think he did start by saying we all want to do something about this. You know politicians far better than me. You've been in amongst them, you've reported on them, you've investigated them. I just don't understand, Dan, repeatedly. Whether it's Tories, whether it's the Labour Party, whether it's Reform, whatever it is, I don't see anybody with the conviction or, frankly, the balls to say, look, we spent years trying to do the right thing, Ukraine being the last example. I understand all that. But why can we not, in black and white, be honest with each other and say there are people not coming from war-torn countries who are not bringing their wives and children, Darren Jones, who are not stopping in 7 safe countries because they know that this country, right, I'm afraid, will give them more pro rata than anybody else. Now, that might have been fine, and maybe I'm missing the point, and you'll tell me if I do. But when your own country is creaking, massively, massively in debt, overtaxed, public services up the Swanee, whatever the reasons for that, it is surely exacerbated in every which way by allowing thousands more to come in to take advantage of a system that isn't adequately looking after the people who pay into it.
No, I mean, I would completely agree. I mean, I would frame it this way. I mean, and I probably have a slightly different take than some people. But we do in this country have a proud history of providing sanctuary to people genuinely fleeing persecution. And I think we do have an obligation, as do all countries around the world, to help people like that. And you've just given an example about how we have provided sanctuary to women and children from Ukraine, for example. And I think that's right. The problem is, as you said, though, the asylum system, to the extent it really effectively exists anymore, has been corrupted and effectively destroyed by the practical reality that vast numbers of people are coming to this country claiming asylum who do not actually have a genuine fear of persecution, but are doing so exclusively for economic reasons. Now, you and I, and I'm sure everybody watching this programme, can entirely understand to an extent and empathise why people experiencing appalling economic hardship want to improve their lives. But the reality is, as you've said, there are a lot of people in this country experiencing appalling economic hardship themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have to, with the best will in the world, they have to be the priority. And for people, as you play, people on the liberal left, I've been making this argument for years. I'm gonna say it again. You have to understand, if we want to have some system of asylum, of granting sanctuary, then that process has to be a ring-fenced, indeed a almost sacred process. It cannot be corrupted and usurped and used as a fast track of people seeking economic migration. And that's what's happening. As you said, now, there may be a number of people on the small boats that are, have a genuine fear of persecution from some appalling regime. And in my view, their cases need to be looked at.
Absolutely.
But that has to be done through a process. It can't be done with people jumping on, a jumbo jet-sized dinghy coming across the channel and then saying, right, fine, I'm here. I've got a right to stay. That doesn't help anyone.
Doesn't.
Quite clearly.
You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you. And is that clip ready yet? Is that clip ready? Come on, get that clip. I want to play it. Dan, just move it from that, but I'll come back to that clip. Couple of other things. You know more about this. My listeners are a bit confused. I am. Andy Burnham said that the number 10 North, the idea to move part of power into Manchester, will take over responsibility for economic growth from the Treasury as part of a huge transfer of power of Whitehall. We know, as I said, that costs are incredible. Interest alone on the spending that we've got, the debt we've got, is over 100 billion quid. Is this number 10 North more than just a show? Are we seriously talking about devolving power to the North as you believe it? And if so, what does that mean? How does that happen? How does it work itself out? What does he mean by it?
It's definitely, I remember saying this at the beginning. And I know that a lot of people were taking the mickey out of it. No, it genuinely is real. I've spoken to people around Andy Burnham. He is genuinely serious about this, and he's genuinely serious about shifting power outside of Westminster and Whitehall. Now, obviously, a lot of politicians have talked about it in the past, and nothing's come of it. He is genuinely serious about it. But the fact he's genuinely serious about it doesn't mean there aren't going to be major problems. Obviously, there is going to be major resistance within the system. There are going to be practical problems, practical reality. A large number of people currently working on Whitehall are not going to want to move to Manchester. That's just a practical thing. You're going to have major issues of coordination, because you are, in a sense, fragmenting some of the traditional roles of the Treasury. And obviously, as anybody who's ever worked in government will tell you, the Treasury very, very, very jealously guards its own power.
Yeah. Is it about getting power away from the Treasury in your mind by this Prime Minister?
I think there's an element of that. I think, again, politicians of all persuasions will tell you the Treasury is overly powerful, and that obviously, there have been numerous occasions where the Treasury has effectively attempted to usurp and undermine the Prime Minister of the day. My own view is, over the last couple of years, that we haven't seen so much of that as effectively the Treasury has effectively been a bit of a basket case, because, God love her, Rachel Reeves just was completely incapable of managing it. So in a sense, I think the balance shifted the other way. But in terms of, is Andy Burnham serious about this? Yeah, no, he is. He's 110% serious about it, definitely.
Can I go back to this thing, because we've got this clip for you, because I wouldn't lie to you, mate, and you know that. This is, if you were just tuning in, about half an hour ago, we had Sam Rushworth, the Labour MP, and we were talking about the fact that overnight a French politician has said we should pay more money to France. And I was saying to him, as I say to everybody, and Dan, wasn't involved, but has given his two penny worth, how are we going to sort this out? And I've heard the Labour Party moan about the gangs, and I get all of that, and I've heard the Tory Party suggest we should go to Rwanda, and that failed because it fell on its backside. I've never heard an MP blame white colonisation. This was Sam Rushworth on this show 20 minutes ago. Have a listen, guys.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors, and I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language, and the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
Dan Hodges? There you go.
I'm really sorry. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't actually catch what he said. What did he? What? Just literally tell me what he said.
He said there are two pull factors for people coming to this country. Rightfully.
Is it the argument, the language?
They all speak English.
They speak the language because of our history of colonisation.
Absolutely, white colonisation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
What can you? What's the? What
doesn't help, does it?
Point. I just generally. I'm just on a political level. I said we can have a history debate if we want. On a political level, what is the point of Andy Burnham standing up and saying, "Look, I'm going to be a different type of Prime Minister. I am actually going to start to engage with and speak the language of ordinary working class people in this country." If he's got his MPs banging on or trying to justify the small boats, or at least explain the small boats by saying they're the product of white colonisation. I mean, it's just
doesn't help. Does it?
I would be very surprised if Sam Rushton doesn't get properly slapped down by Downing Street before the end of today.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's just that is not how this debate should be framed.
Do you know what I thought as he said it? I thought to myself, genuinely, I thought, if my main criticism of all politicians, Dan, right, you know me, is that they don't seem to have their finger on the pulse. I've said it very clearly that Burnham, to me, is infinitely better with the optics to anything Starmer ever was. He's got a free run of it for 6 weeks. It'll happen when Parliament gets recalled. It's been thrown out the sweets. Fair enough. That's what they've decided to do, right? But that just takes me back to think that so many of our elected representatives actually don't give a toss or even don't give a thought about what your average... Not me, not you, not the Mail, not Talk. Average working class people who are grafting right now will have listened to that and gone, Jesus, he doesn't even have a clue, and he's one of our elected representatives.
Exactly. I mean, again, I genuinely, I just can't remember encountering this guy before. Where's it? What's his constituency?
Bishop Auckland. Sam Rushworth.
Who in Bishop Auckland is responsible? Who in Bishop Auckland today is responsible for colonisation? I mean, he seems to have been. I mean, he seems to have been trying to make the point that one of the pull factors is language, and language is. But I mean, that's just a ridiculous.
I'm so glad you've verified the fact that I wasn't losing my mind. Dan, mate, I'm sorry we hold you on a couple of minutes at the beginning, but as ever, an absolute pleasure. We love having you on. It's great to be back, and we'll speak to you very soon. Thanks, my friend. Dan Hodges from the Mail on Sunday. I've got to repeat. I've got to play it again. This was a Labour MP half an hour ago on this show. This is what... And Dan Hodges, and I've disagreed with Dan on many things, he's just said, my God, if he doesn't... He said he will be in trouble with the Labour Party by the end of today. Sam Rushworth and Bishop Auckland blames illegal migration on this, peeps. Have a watch.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors. And I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
Unbelievable. Let's go to the phone lines. Bournemouth. David, couple of minutes. You're on. What do you want to say?
Yeah, I live near Bournemouth, and they've just destroyed the town. The town is non-existent.
Sorry, I can't. Can you honestly? There's no point in putting people through. We can't hear. Natalie is in Manchester. Natalie, good morning. You're on.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, darling.
Hi. I'd just like to say thank you so much for standing up for the situation with that Sam Rushworth. He absolutely spoke a load of crap. And yeah, thank you for standing up.
My point is, I want everybody of every political persuasion on this show. We have Reform, we have Labour, we have Tory, we had Christine Jardine from the Liberal Democrats in the last 2 weeks. But honest to God, and Dan Hodges just nailed it. Do you think the voters of Bishop Auckland, right, a working class area, who are struggling their backsides off to pay their energy bills and their food costs, really going to sit there this morning and go, so my MP's blaming me for the fact that hundreds of years ago we colonised some countries? What a load of absolute baloney.
I really think it's absolutely ridiculous what he said. Absolutely.
And it sums up, by the way, this guilt trip thing that you get from the Labour Party. Oh, we've stopped now. Have you noticed? I said to him, do you think they all come from war-torn countries? Some do. Right, so some don't. What about leaving your wife and kids? What did he say? Well, they come here to build a life so they can then call for their wives and kids. What, from their prison cell? And what about the fact you've got to cross seven on... Oh, God, mate, it's got me going. Now, thank you so much indeed. Sean from Grimsby, listening to that Labour wet wipe reaffirms my position that invading France is our only option. Cheers, every Labour MP is like a recorded message, says Dino in Salford. So basically, last year we had 100 murderers, rapists, terrorists land on our shores, but this year we're 40% down, so we only have 60 murderers murderers, rapists and terrorists. What a great job you're doing. Jez, says Joe from Shrewsbury, if you leave a war-torn country, you take your family with you to ensure they're safe. If you leave to fight a war, you leave your family at home to try to ensure their safety. It's not bloody rocket science. Morning, Jez. If we can't just return people like we used to, as Sam said, why can't the man in charge draft up some new legislation to make it possible our own? 10 quid a week might not be much, but it's too much if you're here illegally. Talk breakfast. Russ, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Russ from Manchester. Oh, it's a joke, that Labour politician. He couldn't even answer how they're stopping the boats coming in. You know, the boats are down by 50%. Our plan is working. How? He couldn't answer it. You know why? Because they're doing absolute nothing to it. It's just letting it go. It's like watching the waves. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small. These people are utter trash. They need gone.
He didn't need to call that by-election, and he spent the entire summer fighting a bin who got nearly 10,000 votes. The winner, I suspect, actually is Clacton, because the Count Binface stuff went all over the world, and there are many people around the world, especially in the States, that are looking at Clacton and saying, it's rather nice, you know, maybe we'll go there on holiday next year. Clacton actually looked rather nice in the sunshine, and Clacton itself is the gainer. Farage made a complete fool of himself. He treated his constituents with total contempt. He didn't even bother to turn up to the
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's funny on breakfast. One thing will get you going, and this certainly has. About 40 minutes ago, I interviewed the Labour MP Sam Rushworth from Bishop Auckland. Bishop Auckland, by the way, has never, we've checked this, doesn't have any, what does it not have? Any migrant hotels? It doesn't have any asylum seeker hotels. Just thought I made the point. Anyway, Sam, like me, wants to get this situation sorted. We'd have different views. He made a point by saying that he believes that every single person... I tried that they're not coming from war-torn countries, and he went, Then he said, but they come here for two reasons. One, they all speak English, watch my face, and the second is it's sort of as a sorry for white colonisation, which I think, sorry, I'll probably get into trouble, is the reason so many on the left think that we should be wiping the backsides of people we know nothing about who can come to this country and get more than you and me. This is what he said 45 minutes ago. Have a watch.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors, and I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
I'll tell you something else as well that came to me. We spent £8 million last year. Do you know what we spent that on? Translators, ladies and gentlemen, which proves they don't all speak bloody English. Sam Rushworth says, June, who's one of them, your constituents are listening to you. Pack your bags. Frank says, France went round colonising the world, as did the Spanish and the Portuguese. No mention of them. Another deluded lefty. Hello to Pete in Essex. That Labour MP highlights where they will never deal with this problem. They come here because they speak English. So why do we spend millions on translators when they end up in court or in the NHS? Couldn't agree more. Jez, Eritrea, Afghanistan and Iran were never official British colonies. Isn't it extraordinary when you cut this down? Oh, my God, Jezza, says Dave. Listening to that is doing my head in. All they do is defend the invasion and blame other people. Jeremy, colonisation started 400 years ago. Why does Sam think that now, today, we, the hard-working, everyday citizens, should have to pay for this? Sam and Labour have shown their true colours on your show this morning by a mile. Morning, Jez, says Steve. You put across some good points to Sam, but you'll never change his captured mind. He will not accept the reasons that we all know to be true. They, Labour MPs, have their own truth, which will never marry up to the likes of mine. Charles is listening all the way from Thailand. After hearing that Labour MP spouting complete codswallop, I think Bishop Auckland will be Reform's #1 target seat in the next election. It's extraordinary. And listen, and I have advocated since I sat in this chair for people to have different parts of... We'll get everybody on. Dan Hodges is not known to agree with me much. He just went, and I quote, he said, if the Labour Party don't sanction Sam Rushworth by the end of the day, be very surprised. He's a journalist, right? The guy is saying that this is acceptable because of white colonisation. And that, for me, sorry, is a secret that I suspect that many on the left have been thinking about for bloody years. Let's say a very good morning to the leader of the Conservative group in the London Assembly. I love this woman. Susan Hall, good morning.
Oh, bless you. Good morning. Good morning. I've been listening to your programme and I understand why you're so damn mad. And this is the truth of the Labour lot. This is what they think. And they are, you said they don't have their finger on the pulse. No, they don't. They absolutely don't. They're not listening to us. I'm sick to death of hearing that our new Prime Minister is going around the country listening to what we're saying. Well, has he had fingers in his ears for the last 2 years? Does he not know what we're all saying? We're all sick to death of the votes coming over. Well, he's done nothing about that. We're all concerned about defence spending. He's done nothing about that. We're all looking at our bills when we go to the supermarkets thinking, I mean, heck, how are we going to pay for that? Well, he is quite good on buses, though, Susan, isn't he? You can get a bus. Can I just, on a serious note, can I just bring you straight away? You heard that Labour MP Sam Rushworth from Bishop Auckland. Genuinely, that's the first time I've heard something come from the mouth of a Labour politician that I have long suspected beats inside of all of them. They all speak English, crap. Lies, not right. We spend millions on translators. And they come here, was his mind, because of white colonisation. I've never seen Dan Hodges look more angry. He said, and I quote, he'll be sanctioned by the end of the day by the Labour Party. That is a disgust. So all of the people that work hard, where you live, where I live, everywhere across this country, are being told your lives are in the toilet and they're not great. And by the way, they're going to be financially even worse because we're going to apologise for something you were nothing to do with 400 years ago. And we're just going to allow people to come into this country willy-nilly. Unbloody believable. Don't even understand it. I'm with you completely. And actually, I don't always agree with Dan Hodges, but I do like him. And he's always got, you know, an opinion. And we all listen to different opinions. But I'm getting crosser and crosser. I can sense you are. And so are your listeners, because at the end of the day, politicians are there to make sure that they represent what we're all thinking. Well, they're not listening to us. They're not listening to us on so many different levels. And it's about damn time they do, because if not, I can see real trouble brewing. We can really.
It's a really difficult one, actually, and I'm sort of with you on that. You know, a lot of people will say to me, they'll say, you know, what are you advocating? I'm not advocating anything. What I'm saying, Susan, and I've said it for a long time on this show, is that, in my mind, the silent majority, who for years have accepted... I'm not even going to say their lot. I'm just going to say, I suppose when people were better off financially, there wasn't this real intensity. But I think that all politicians, and you made the point, and perhaps make it again, that they need to be really aware of the depth of anger and also the depth of strength there is increasingly amongst the silent majority. And I don't want or need to agree with everybody about everything, but if you get spurned to the point where you're derided, looked down on, laughed at by an ideology or a class that thinks that you are, I don't know, worse than anything, there will be a time when those people realise that these are genuine... I mean, you have it more than anybody. You are one of the most impressive performers. You have to deal with Sadiq Khan quite... Well, should I say Lord Khan? What is he? King Khan soon, I should imagine. I mean, this man literally is so rude to you and anybody who dares to question him. He doesn't even answer you. He just looks through you and says, I don't understand the question. Why do you keep beating your head against the brick wall? Let's call him King Khan from now on, shall we?
I do it because somebody's got to. These politicians need to be held to account, and that's my job. It's also my secret pleasure, to be honest. But the biggest regret is that I don't have enough time. People say, well, why didn't you follow that up with another question? But in Mayor's question time, we're only given a certain amount of time, and then it stops. So you ask him a question, he'll go all the way around the houses, won't answer, and you don't have much time to come back to another question. But, you know, it's important that people like me do hold people like him to account. And the silent majority, I've thought this for so long, Jeremy, the silent majority are now getting fed up. We're the ones paying for everything. We've all looked after minority groups and, you know, sometimes to the detriment to the rest of us. But these minority groups are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I would suggest those of us that are the silent majority won't be the majority any longer. And who pay for everybody else? I mean, I'm as livid as you are, to be honest.
I mean, Sadiq Khan, one thing I read about him overnight, he plans 900 more traveller pitches across London. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm sure you know what I make of that.
Should we call him Caravan Khan? That's getting better by the minute, isn't it?
It's, there's all sorts of things I call him, which I couldn't repeat on your show, but...
Oh, no, you can, trust me.
Oh, no, I can't, trust me. Right. I don't have a job left. But when you look at this particular thing, Traveller Summit, Angela Rayner is doing so much damage to this country. I mean, well, they all, I mean, to be honest, the Labour MPs are, but it's all very well. But if we're giving more and more permissions for travellers' sites or retrospective planning permission, I mean, lots of people have only really one experience of when travellers suddenly come into an area, go onto a field, cause mayhem, leave it in an absolutely abhorrent state, and then off they go again. Now, I've had experience of them in fixed units. Now, this isn't going to be them all, so I'm not tarring everybody with the same brush, but lots of traveller sites, when they're static ones, when they're allowed, you can't get access to them. You're not allowed in them. I remember a colleague of mine went in once, this is many years ago, and was faced with a very ferocious dog and a shotgun. So he had to, a council worker, he had to retreat very, very quickly. You can't get into these sites.
The thing about Khan, from my point of view, is, and it rather, the reason I wanted to use that example is it's sort of, oh, sadistic Khan is somebody's name. The thing about Khan, for me, is symptomatic of Labour, and in fact summed up by that MP. They seem to spend their lives, and they've got away with it for a long time, I think, Susan. I'm not even going to tread carefully. They seem to spend their lives attaching themselves to whatever great cause they believe makes them look good, makes them feel good amongst certain people, to the detriment, I have to say this repeatedly, the detriment of hard-working, British, normal, everyday people who have been almost discarded and looked down upon. I know that Nigel Farage says sometimes when he's in the House of Commons that they just howl and holler and don't accept that millions would support his views. The Tories exactly the same. It's almost as if this left ideology that's crept in assumes, this is what I would say, assumes that they're morally superior to other politicians, and also that they can ride roughshod. And I will say again and again to any of them, to their faces or on this show, be very careful, because the British public are far wiser, far more switched on politically than I think they have ever been. Ever.
Yes. And I'm very pleased about that, because they need their eyes opened. And anybody thinking that the Lib Dems are anything other than left, then think on, work with Lib Dems, and you will know that they are far more on the left than towards the right, far more.
You can't expect me to take him seriously, Ed Davey. I don't. That should give anybody the inspiration they can win 72 seats. Susan, it's an absolute pleasure. Keep banging the drum in the London Assembly against Khan. Can I ask you a question? You know, when you see the House of Commons and the House of Lords and they walk between, and two people who absolutely hate themselves patently have a good old chat, are you and Sadiq mates privately? Do you go out for a drink? No.
I've never even had a meeting on my own with him. The Labour London Assembly members, most of them I get on with very well, especially their leader, Len Duval, who's now in the House of Lords. Yes, we do. But Sadiq Khan is completely insular, so different from both Boris and Ken. Boris and Ken were very approachable. Sadiq Khan is not approachable. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks. He sits in his ivory tower, and God knows why he keeps getting re-elected.
And ennobled. I mean, we've gone from Sir to Lord to King all in one morning. Quite extraordinary. Amazing to have you on, Susan. We love you. Thank you very much indeed. Susan Hall, leader of the Conservative group in the London Assembly. You lot are going nuts about this. This was a Labour MP an hour ago on this show. This is what Sam Rushworth, the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland, thinks is because... We're all... Well, colonisation, white colonisation is to blame for people coming to... Have a watch. It's unbelievable, man.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors. And I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
Matt in Shrewsbury. Jeremy, in regards to the Labour politicians' line about colonialisation, the top 10 countries where illegal immigrants come from are Afghanistan, Eritrea, Iran, Syria, Ethiopia, Vietnam, Turkey, Iraq, Somalia and Sudan. The only country that the Brits colonised was Sudan. So what the hell is that fool talking about? John in Poole. So this Labour MP says that most illegals speak English because we colonised them. What an idiot. We didn't colonise Iran, Afghanistan, Sudan. This fool needs to go back to junior school. Morning, Jez, says Pete in North Somerset. If everyone comes to this country because they share our language, why are we spending £140+ million a year on bleeding interpretate? I can't say the word. Thank you. Kenny's in Perthshire. That's Sam Rushton. It's Rushworth. Down a clown let the cat out the bag about Labour's real agenda. Completely agree with you, Kenny, actually. Well done for exposing it. They are quite happy to allow this outrage to continue. Ideological-driven idiots. We need them out. We need them out quickly. Let's go to Kent. David, you're on Talk Breakfast. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. I am absolutely fuming with this Labour man. He's saying we haven't got a pull factor. I want to know how much do the French pay for the migrants? Do they give them £10 a week plus all their food like we do? What is the actual total cost that they pay their migrants? I'm fuming. I got up at I got home at 11:30 last night from work, and I've got up at 6 this morning to go back. It makes me livid.
I couldn't agree more, mate. Listen to this while you're on. This is brilliant. Labour saying the quiet bit out loud. We won't pay reparations, so they bought reparations to us. Really interesting. David in Kent, thank you. Hi, Jez. Catherine from Grimsby. Stop giving mugs away. You're as bad as Burnham. Free for all, £4.50 mug, postage and packing. You, Jeremy Kyle, are a mug. Morning, Shane.
Anyway, mate, I can actually back you up on what you were saying about your comments on Bournemouth when you took your son to go and get his theory test done. It's horrific, mate. It's not getting any better. My mum won't even go into Bournemouth anymore because of it. I went down there last Sunday and, mate, honestly, it was horrendous. They stood around all in their groups, like groups of 10 at least, and they just look menacing. I'm sorry, they don't look like they want to integrate or assimilate. They really don't.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, Julia from 10, David Ball from 1, Kevin O'Sullivan on Drive from 4 o'clock. That's your lineup. It's Wednesday, the 19th of August. It's Jeremy Carlin Breakfast. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. You lot have gone nuts about Sam Rushworth. But let's just move to something else. Two big royal stories sort of came out overnight. We say a very good morning to the... Oh, by the way, before I do this, Dougie, hold on a second. Rissiru and Ollie want to mention. Morning, gang. Love you loads. I hope you're OK. We have to stop the show always. My kid's most important thing. Good morning to the former press secretary to Her Majesty the Queen, royal journalist and overall legend who makes a blue shirt look terribly classy on a Wednesday morning. Dickie Arbiter, how are you, dear boy?
Good morning, young man. How are you?
Do you know that you're the only person that can say that, which is why I have you on the whole time, because you make me feel young, Arbiter. That's how old you are. I'm good.
At my age, I can call you young man.
I've been on holiday for 2 weeks, but with my children, so I'm knackered and have come back to work for a rest.
So you've gone back to work for a holiday?
Absolutely, mate. Couple of stories I wanted to touch upon. The first, we'll have heard it in the news. Queen Camilla, who I think you and I have talked about in the past, there was such visceral hatred about this woman several years ago, but through real dedication and hard work and just a real genuineness has really found a place in the hearts of the British people. And she revealed in a private podcast that came out overnight an emotional visit to a cancer centre after privately discovering the King had been diagnosed with the disease, and how she sat there in sort of complete and utter, horror, knowing what was going on but didn't want to give it away. She's a stoic old bird, to be fair, isn't she? I really respect her.
Yeah, she is stoic. I think you should drop the old bird.
Well, I meant it nicely. I meant it very nicely. I used to call my mother that.
And she is going to be 80 next year. But
well, then she is an old bird, isn't she, to be fair? But she's an amazing woman. She's got our confidence, I think.
She is amazing. She dropped into Maggie's Centre, which is a cancer support centre, knowing full well that her own husband had been diagnosed with cancer. She wanted to talk about it because she was in the right place to talk about it. But she held wise counsel until it was announced by Buckingham Palace a week later, and now she can talk about it. She's been president of Maggie's Centre since 2008, and she's visited 18 of the 27 centres, so that's quite a formidable task.
In terms of her as a lady, you watched... You were around, my old man was around when all the furore of Charles and Diana and everything that was involved in that, and of course she was pilloried. And it was a respectful comment when I said that to her, by the way, because I've met her twice. I think what she's done, I mean, I don't think any of us quite know the impact, the support and the importance he attaches to her. It was patently obvious that they were in love for most of their life. And it is a love story that's worked out. And it's actually to the benefit of the monarchy in general, wouldn't you say?
It's the benefit of the monarchy and the benefit of the country, because she goes up and down the country to all sorts of organisations and they welcome her with open arms. And because she goes there, she delivers the publicity that they badly need. And with the publicity come the donations. So it's fulfilling a role that she's just dropped into and found very easy. I mean, she's been involved with the Osteoporosis Society for donkey's years, for decades, because her mother died of it. And all she has done is extended her charitable portfolio and done a sterling job and followed the royal family mantra, never explain, never complain.
Completely agree with you, mate. I think she's been be some sort of example, and no wonder Meghan and Harry don't particularly are not particularly keen on her, so reports would say. I think, listen, I've listened to her when she was on the radio with her book club and all sorts of stuff, and she's talked about abuse, women in abusive relationships. So anybody who thinks I don't have the greatest respect for her is wrong, because I genuinely do. And
I don't think you're alone. A lot of people do.
No. By the way, I meant to ask this. Do we have any sort of update, talking about the cancer situation, do we have any sort of update or knowledge, further knowledge, Dickie, of where the King is in terms of his recovery or his treatment?
Well, watching him perform, if I can use that word, he is to use your word, stoic. I mean, he's going up and down the country. He's enjoying every minute of it. He's meeting countless people. He's doing countless engagements. And he seems as fit as a fiddle. Yes, he's still having treatment. We're not told how much treatment he's receiving, but he is still receiving treatment. Not as much as he did last year and the previous year, but he seems to be thriving on it and thriving on the job. And as you rightly pointed out, the support of Camilla.
Absolutely. The other big story overnight, my friend, Earl Spencer is to tell all about Diana's death. He plans a historic book to take on untruths about her marriage to Charles and the aftermath of the Paris crash. You were around at this point, the old man was around at this point. I remember the old man telling me about the funeral, and he was sat, and he said that when Earl Spencer started speaking, and he made a couple of comments then, that he said it was extraordinary because they started clapping. I'm sure you would allude to what the old man, bless him, was said to me, but he said something, Earl Spencer, I believe, that generated a response somewhere in the middle of London, and he felt, the old man said to me, you could hear the gasp of breath and the applause almost come through London and come towards the cathedral and come up. And he said he remembers sitting there thinking that will have shocked the royal family. What do you think this book will be doing to them? What do you think it will be saying? Any ideas?
It would have shocked the royal family. He made the point that Diana didn't need a title to fulfill her role, a royal title. He made the point, royal title. And he also made the point that we, your blood family, will look after you. In other words, the Spencers will take care of William and Harry. I'm not terribly sure they have, actually. Sarah McCorkadale has been very good, as is Jane Fellows.
Her
Charlie
sisters.
Yeah, they're the sisters. Charlie Spencer tends to do his own thing and sort of one step forward, two steps back. At the time of the funeral, he was going through his first divorce. I say first divorce because he's been divorced 3 times. He's now on his 4th wife. Is there something wrong with the guy that he can't hang on to wives? Getting rid of them the way he does.
Are you being personal to be arbiter? Are you being rude to me?
No, I'm not being rude to you, but, you know, somebody who's had 4 wives...
well, I've had 3.
Well, you're greedy.
3, yeah, fine. Anyway, I take your point. I wonder whether it's going to be, because he was very bitter and angry, right? He was very bitter and very angry. And you think about where the monarchy is at with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and all the furore about the Sussexes. I mean, is this going to hurt them? Is he going to dig in and cause real problems, do you think? Or do you think...
I'm not sure where he's coming from. The publishers say it's his perspective. I have to say, at the time of Diana's death, they weren't bosom buddies, she and her brother. In '93, she was undergoing tremendous stress from the paparazzi and from the media in general. Diana only had one home, Kensington Palace. She didn't have a bolt hole, and she asked her brother if she can use the garden cottage on the Althorpe estate as a bolt hole to escape. And initially he agreed, and then he reneged on that and turned her down, and she was bitter about that. So, you know, the brotherly love wasn't there. He was just concerned for himself. He was citing a question of security and media intrusion. If he really cared for his sister, he would have found a way to accommodate her with a bolt hole on the Althorpe estate, but he didn't.
I think of Diana's death. I mean, we can all remember it was one of those things where we were. I just think a bit like so much in history, there's probably so much to be learnt. The Queen was criticised, Charles was criticised, everybody was criticised. It was a tragedy first and foremost, a tragedy, but the old man always told me that there was right and wrong on all sides, and, you know, one just has to learn from it and move forward. She was an incredible woman who had her flaws, like we all do. You know, people will now look and say the boys have segregated and had all their troubles because of what happened to their mother. But you know what? You just have to get on with life. I don't know if... I hope it's not too bitter and twisted, because I don't think any of us need that right now.
No, we don't need that. William has got on with his life. He's got a very loving wife. He's got 3 terrific children, and he's getting on with his life. Harry is still dwelling on the past, and the sooner he moves on, the better it will be for him. There's been a lot of criticism, even now, that the fact that the two boys walked behind the gun carriage. Prince Philip was partially responsible for that. He was a traditionalist, but at the same time, he was a modernist. And he did say that if they didn't, they might well regret it in future years. Now, William hasn't talked about it. The only thing he said is that he kept his head down. His eyes were looking through his hair when he did have hair. And he just, kept his eyes focused on ahead. Harry has said in his book, Spare, no 12-year-old should be forced to walk behind a gun carriage. But Prince Philip did say, if I walk, will you walk? They didn't have to, but they agreed to. So the fact that they did agree to, we should move on from that and not say, poor William, poor Harry. They did agree to do it. And I personally believe that had they not done so in later life, they would have regretted it.
Couldn't agree more. It'll be interesting to see what happens. He plans, as we say, Old Spencer, historic book, to take on untruths about her marriage to Charles and the aftermath of the Paris crash. We love, and I mean this, having you on, Dickie. We're so grateful you take the time. Dickie Arbiter, former press secretary, thank you so much indeed, my friend. Quickly push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Real quick look. Thank you to The Sun as ever on the back page this morning. Martin Blackburn, football writer. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good. The empire that is Chelsea, built on billions and billions of pounds and buying players who are no good and giving them 20-year contracts, seems to have resulted in a standoff, and it could be a split time between the two men, Bowley and I can never say his name, the other one who bought Chelsea. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. A good story by Dan King, my colleague. There's problems behind the scenes there. It seems to be that they're talking over the stadium, that there's a problem with the sort of getting the go-ahead for a new stadium for £5 billion, Jeremy. So, yeah, I mean, that looks like that's the issue between Todd Bowley and Clearlake.
It's really interesting that. The other story is Adam Wharton, who's a great player, by the way, plays... Is he at Palace, Adam Wharton? Is that right?
He's at Palace.
Yeah,
That's
Adam
right,
Wharton
yeah.
is apparently the next big thing. Interestingly, I think one of the best players in the Premier League has left now, Rodri from Manchester City. They've already bought Ferguson, of course. They're looking to buy Wharton as well. He's a great, great future, hasn't he, as an England midfielder, Wharton? Interesting.
He is, yeah. He's a quality player, Jeremy. I mean, City have got a bit of a problem, like you say, losing Rodri. They've lost a lot of other good players, Bernardo Silva, John Stones, Nathan Ake, a real clear out there. All the players who got them to won them the Champions League 3 years ago seem to have gone. So they're looking at options in midfield. Like you say, Adam Wharton is one of the possibilities. Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea. So we'll wait and see what...
I read a great article yesterday. Enzo Fernandez, about 5'1" from Chelsea, good player, 125 million. Nobody will ever convince me that he's worth two Rodris. Rodri was a great player. Don't think me rude, Mark. We wanted to get you on. You know what it's like. It's madness. But everything in the brilliant Sun sport. Adam Wharton, the Blues standoff, Rooney warning Marcus Rashford to put his finger out, all that with the best sports newspaper in the land. By the way, also for All Sport, you know where to go. Not here, talkSport. Why am I doing that with my finger? talkSport, our sister station. The legend that is Alan Brazil is back. Anna, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Anna from Horsham. I've got to stick up for Labour a little bit. To be fair, the boats are down, but that's because some muppet hasn't taken into consideration that the boats are now 10 times the size they used to be. Great show. Honour listening to you. Crack on with the good work, Jezza. Anna from Horsham.
I don't think there are many communities in this country who want large numbers of men from very different cultures who've come here unlawfully, paying criminals. They don't want them amongst them, not because they're racists or they don't like people because of the colour of the skin or their religion, but it is just an unfair and very difficult burden to put on those communities.
The entire city is being overwhelmed, and there are people who bear direct responsibility. Those responsible are the national government, led by Pedro Sanchez and his ministers, as well as Mr. Marlaska, and of course, the European institutions, which have completely failed in what's supposed to be the European Union's external border.
Which country in Europe, white... ...1,000 text. Oh, we're back. Oh, no, God, I'm having so choked now. Hold on. That's so embarrassing. Oh, don't laugh, Christian. Cup of tea. Right. Welcome back. 0344 499 1000 is your telephone number. You can ring, you can leave a voice note, you can text us as well, 87222. Sometimes moments on shows just take over the whole thing. And about an hour ago, as is my wont, I try and include as many people as possible on the show. I interviewed the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland, Sam Rushworth. He came out with a line that has slightly been incendiary. In fact, Dan Hodges from the Mail on Sunday said if he's not challenged by the Labour bosses before the end of the day, he'd be very surprised. That was Dan Hodges' opinion. Sam Rushworth and I were talking about immigration. We were talking specifically about how a French politician overnight has demanded that we Brits hand over more cash to tackle migrants. And he says that part of the problem, which I agree with, by the way, not the cash, is that we are an attraction. And I was putting it to Sam Rushworth that you know, that the attraction to this to migration to this country, right, is that we wipe the backsides of people who have not paid into the... I don't care who tells me that's wrong, it's not. We give everything to these people in return for nothing. His response to that was, apart from thinking that I knew nothing about the subject, was mind-blowing. This is why Sam Rushworth, and I suspect many in the Labour Party, think we should allow thousands to flood our country. Have a watch.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors. And I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
White colonisation, the secret's out the bag from Labour. Mike, good morning.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Mike in Whitney again. I'm sorry, I've run out of credit, so I can't be texting you anymore. A politician came on, Sam. God, he wound me up so much. Yes, we colonised countries around the world. Some bad stuff happened whilst we did it, but we ended with leaving them with law, the system of law, civilization, better infrastructure. But that's all in the past, isn't it? And the nonsense about they come here because they speak the language. No, they don't. Why are we spending billions on translators for them when they get their asylum cases seen, or they go to court for raping our girls? You know, they speak such good English. Why are you having translators all over the place?
Alison from East Sussex. Hi, Jeremy. Sam Rushworth, in my opinion, is completely disingenuous. Apart from the nonsense and irrelevance of colonisation, he stated the sum of money given to migrants. How about rent, gas, electricity, water, council tax, clothing, doctors, dentists, free leisure activities, free travel and taxes, and so on? It is unbelievable. Of course, that is the pull factor. And to put this into perspective for people who think, you know, and there will be people who agree with Sam Rushworth. John in Lincolnshire, this is I mean, I don't even know if sad's the right word. He's 84. Another freebie for migrants. I'm 84 years of age, Jez, and I've just been told this morning by my dentist they're now going private. But of course, migrants will get that service for free. And I wonder how long that guy has paid into a system which is basically telling him to absolutely do one. 9:10. Let's go to, is it Westminster? Are we going to Westminster? Delighted to have the Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland and the Shadow Minister. God, he's got so many jobs. For Energy as well. Andrew Bowie. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm all right, but I'm slightly enraged, and I'm going to start with your response that you won't have heard it. Did you hear that clip from Sam Rushworth just then?
Well, I did just hear it as you played it back a few minutes ago. And you know what? I am, it's getting fed up of commentators, politicians on the left denigrating British history. Yes, Britain had an empire, as did France, as did Germany, as did the Netherlands, as did Belgium. But I'm standing here in Victoria Gardens in Westminster looking directly at a statue or a monument to William Wilberforce, because what people don't talk about is the immense good that was done by the British Empire. We are the only country in the history of the world that actually set our Royal Navy to work to end slavery, end the slave trade across the world. We were the first country to do it, and we were the only country that devoted, money and resource to the great effort of doing that. The British Empire, yes, there were faults and there were flaws, and there are some bad stories out there, but an immense good was done through that. Britain has been an immense force for good in the history of this world, and I believe will be an immense force for good moving forward. And I'm absolutely fed up of people on the left of politics in this country doing this country down, being ignorant of our history, and telling people we should be ashamed of what we are. We aren't ashamed. We're proud of being British, and we're proud of our history.
I want to get the Tory view on this morning's story. I'll make it as brief as I can, but it enrages me. A French politician has demanded overnight that Britain pays more cash to handle the tackling of migrants, despite the fact we spend 500 million for, in my opinion, very little. He says that part of it is our fault, and I agree with the second part, that we are such an attraction. That's what got Sam Rushworth. He was saying they only get £10 a week, ignoring everything else that they get. I've said this till I'm blue in the face, Andrew, and I know I've interviewed Kemi about this. I'd be interested in your response. I don't understand the money to the French. I believe that Europe is kicking us in the bits because of Brexit. I've thought that for a long time. But just on a pure human level as a politician, and I say this every day, do people like Sam Rushworth and other politicians really not listen to, understand, or have their finger on the pulse? Because there are working people, the length and breadth of this country, who perhaps in the past, when things were better, the cost of living, whatever, would have turned a blind eye, but who now are working all week, have never broken the law, who try and do right by their kids and their wives and their husbands, and they don't get an nth of what people get to break in illegally to this country, to not come with their wives and kids, to cross 7 safe countries, to drop their papers in the water, because what? Not language and colonisation in any which way, because they know, excuse the French, Andrew, we will wipe their backside better than any other country. That has to be the truth now. Has to be.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of the money that we're giving to the French, I mean, you have to ask what is being achieved through that. I understand the principle, you know, we pay the French to stop the boats leaving the coastline, but it's obviously not working. And so we need to ask questions about why that is. And on the point about, you know, the hard-working Brit out there, I totally understand. You know, they're working all hours, they're paying into a system, they're getting less back, cost of living is really biting, and they're seeing people here flouting the rules, crossing into the United Kingdom illegally. Nobody's saying that we don't want people who are going to contribute and be a positive benefit to this country. Of course we're not saying that, but it's about fairness. It's about contributing, about putting in and then getting back. And too many people here are seeing people coming into this country and not contributing anything, and we need to arrest that. One way we do that is getting out of the European Court of Human Rights, it's a Convention on Human Rights. That is the thing that is preventing us returning these people back to where they have come from. We need to have a new approach. This Labour government is just chucking good money after bad, and it's not having any impact whatsoever.
Your other job is, well, one of your jobs, Shadow Minister for Energy Security and Net Zero. There's an astonishing, well, it's not in my mind, because I don't understand anything about net zero and its importance. Labour's net zero dogma, story out today, is costing cash-strapped families again £540 a year. It's a bombshell analysis that was scrapped by Ed Miliband. He didn't want the people to know this. Again, you're the Shadow Energy Secretary. I'm just an old radio presenter whose hair is falling out. Explain something to me. Yeah, no, I really want you to explain this to me. So we're completely and utterly skint. We can barely afford the interest on the debts that we've got. And somewhere in the middle of the ocean is this resource, right, just hear me out, which if we drilled or whatever you do, got out, we'd make lots of money and do something about our debt. And also improve the lives of millions of people whose energy bills at home and at work are destroying lives. But no, what we're going to do is we're going to say, the Earth might end in a week, so we're not going to drill there. We'll allow Norway to do it, and we'll pay double for it. Andrew Bowie, it is bloody madness, isn't it, net zero?
It's insane what we're doing, and that's why we've said we want to get rid of net zero 2050. That's why what we're saying today is, you know, yeah, we can deliver a cleaner system, but we don't need to do it, you know, betting the house on renewables and aiming for unrealistic targets that are going to cost the average person in this country, as you said, £540 a head. That's £320 billion over the next 20 years. We don't have that cash. And when it comes to the North Sea, of course we should be getting what we can out of the North Sea. Right now, we're paying more to import more from other countries who are doing the jobs that we are not doing here in the UK. We want to maximise recovery from the North Sea, get more of our own gas, generating revenue, saving British jobs, improving our energy security, reducing bills and reducing reliance on foreign countries. It's just common sense, and I don't know what it is that this government has to see. Just last week, BP, British Petroleum, announced they were signing a new contract in Venezuela. The week before that, they said they're pulling out of the UK North Sea. Around the world, the oil and gas industry is booming, but we're not getting any of that revenue here because this government is ideologically opposed to oil and gas for reasons known only to themselves.
And it's interesting that you say that, and you're in the House of Commons, ideologically. Here's my thing. You know, I talked to you before about, you know, finger on the pulse. Do the Ed Milibands, I mean, you sit across them, do they understand how skint people are? Do they understand that your average John and Joe would say, my food bill's 2.5 times the cost, petrol and diesel have gone up, every bill has gone up, my tax has gone up, my council tax has gone up, everything's gone up, I can't see a doctor. There was an 84-year-old saying, I've paid for 50 years, I can't see a dentist, it's gone private, migrants are getting that. Do these people either, are they tone deaf, stupid, or don't they care?
I think, I mean, it could be a combination of all of the above. I mean, Ed Miliband must feel it. Famously, 2 ovens Ed Miliband. He must see an increase in his energy bills. But I just don't think they fully understand just how difficult life is for the average person in the United Kingdom today, and just why people are asking. Of course, people want to see action. They want to see a cleaner planet. They want to pass down a world that's in a better
right?
state
Priorities,
for their children.
though.
But it's about priorities. But if there's no jobs for their kids, the economy's, you know, going down the pan, we're importing more oil and gas, and emissions are still going up, then obviously we're on the wrong track, and that's what's happening right now.
I mean, I always tell the story, I haven't told you this, but there was a lovely guy that ran his own a dry cleaning place in the village that I lived for years and years and years and years and years. He suddenly closed up, and I saw him, and I said, why? He said, because my electricity bill's gone from £1,500 a year to over £7,000, and I can't stand it. It's just not going to work. So then jobs
And
go,
you know what
and
that is?
economies are affected in that way.
Yeah. It's carbon taxes, it's green levies, it's all the charges, the hidden charges that people are seeing on their bills. It's not actually the cost of energy, that's about half of the bill that you're paying. It's all these other charges that people are paying so that and that's going towards constraint payments, so we can pay wind farms to turn off when it's too windy. It's this new grid infrastructure, which isn't wanted across much of the country, because we're having to build pylons from the north-west coast of the Highlands in Scotland down to the southeast of England to bring power generated from these very diverse locations into where it's actually required. It's absolutely nuts. We need a change of approach.
Before you go, there you are, standing all dressed smartly outside Westminster, and yet you're in the middle of recess. Everybody's doing their bit.
Yeah.
What do you... report card first month, the Messiah of Manchester, has not had to face any criticism or anything at all from anybody in Parliament, which I think is an absolute disgrace. Been handing out sweets willy-nilly and doesn't have to do it. What's your view of the first month of the Burnham Premiership?
Yeah, look, I mean, well, it's hard to say, right? Because all we've seen is announcement after announcement, as you said, sweetie after sweetie, with no scrutiny or accountability whatsoever, a reluctance to even go in front of the press, absolutely no parliamentary scrutiny for another 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks today that he faces his first Prime Minister's question, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I do wonder how many of these announcements, unfunded commitments that he's made since he became Prime Minister, will fare when the harsh light of day is shone upon them, when you guys are all back in the media, when we're all back in that building behind us, and when we start to go through line by line what he said, because he's had such an easy ride.
Yeah,
I have to say, I don't think that had we been in a position that we would have been getting the easy ride that Andy Burnham has been getting since he walked into number 10.
You'd have to say, Andrew, you'd have to say whatever you'd have to say whatever political party you're from. I don't agree with it, but it was quite possibly the most impressively successful coup in British political... I've never seen a man within 4 weeks go from not being an MP to having a 186-seat majority in the House of Commons and complete control over a party who've been bitching for the last 2 years. Extraordinary. Great to have you on, my friend.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much indeed. Andrew Bowie, Shadow. He's actually... It's energy, and Scotland is a very good man. Good man, Andrew Bowie. 9:20. Julia here at 10 0344 499 to the phone lines. You are raging still. London. Stuart, hello.
Hello, mate. Pleased you're back for your holiday. Hope you had a good time.
No, I didn't. I was with 6 children. I'm knackered. How are you?
They must have driven you mad, didn't they?
You what?
They must have driven you mad.
I'm thinking of putting them all in care, if I'm honest. Anyway, what you got? What you got, Stewie?
I said before, I couldn't believe what that guy said, that MP. I absolutely staggered. I mean, I spoke to Turkish people, yeah? Now, you know the Ottoman Empire had 700 years of slavery.
Yep.
And I talked to Turkish people. Do you worry about it? No. He said, what's it got to do with us? That's centuries ago. And they put enslaved 10 million people. We were 3.5 million, 10 million, and they castrated most of the men. And I tell you what, the Turks don't go around crying about it every day, what happened, because it's nothing to do with them. And this guy, another point, very important point I must tell you, Jeremy, he said that the boat crossings, the number of people coming are down, which is absolutely fact. Now, in 2025, they decreased coming into Europe by 25%. From this year, they've decreased for 40%. This is absolutely nothing to do with what Labour has done. It's 40% less have come into the EU, so 40% less obviously have come into us.
Do you agree with me?
Nothing to do with Labour.
What do you make of the 500 million to France and some pillocks saying, like, overnight from France, we should give them more money? That's a joke, isn't it?
Well, that's absolutely insane. This is taking money under false pretences.
That we haven't got.
You saw the guy at the beach there asking them to stop them, and the police said, no, we're not allowed to stop them, and giving them lifeboats and take the lifeboats back.
Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that poll today, YouGov poll? Interesting, this. More Brits than ever before believe that efforts to stop small boat crossings are more likely to succeed by standing up to France rather than going, oh, let's have a conversation, an entente cordiale. No, give us your money back. You know what I do, don't you? If they don't stop them, I'd take a fishing licence away every hour or something like that. Seriously, it does my head in. Listen, great to have you on, Stewie, in London. Thank you, David. Good morning.
Hi, Jeremy. David from London. And there we have it. A Labour MP finally saying what we all know about Labour, that Labour doesn't want us to know. He's finally let the cat out of the bag. At the heart, at the core of the Labour Party is a dislike of our culture, our history. They're anti-British, and he has told us now everything we knew about the Labour Party that goes to the heart and the core of the Labour Party. He has finally let the cat out of the bag. Well done.
The other main parties, Labour, the Tories, the Lib Dems, they didn't turn up. They bottled it like a bunch of cowardly chickens. And in so doing, they were greatly rude and discourteous to the Clacton constituents. And sure, not everyone's going to like a particular candidate, in this case, Nigel. And they were left with having to vote for a bin. And I just think it is a grave discourtesy. What it actually shows is that all the other parties, they threw themselves in the bin.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. Can't speak. Don't laugh, Big M. Is it David a new one or an old one? Is that a new one? Old, right. I don't think I've ever seen a reaction like this. An hour and a half ago, I decided to interview the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland. He's called Sam Rushworth. We were talking about the main news story today. A French politician has demanded we Brits hand over more money. Why did I do that? 500 million quid already for absolutely jack, in my opinion. Well, lots of people have kicked back. There's been a YouGov poll today saying more Britons than ever before believe that the way to deal with the French is to stand up to them and stop kowtowing. The reason we're in the mire is we're paying them to wave people through and we offer too much. That would be most people's view, that this country is soft and has a soft underbelly, and he's saying to people who pay tax, no, you're going to find it very hard to get a doctor or a dentist, but you know what? We're just going to roll out the carpet to anybody who arrives. Sam Rushworth saw it slightly differently. He blames our empire. Have a watch.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors, and I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
Very good morning. I can't wait for this. Talks International editor Isabel Oakeshott. Hello.
You knew this will get me going, didn't you?
Mate, it's like pennies from heaven for me. That you can imagine the world's gone nuts. Colonisation, the secret's out, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's just articulated it. He's not going to be Mr. Popular in the Labour Party today, I don't think, not at the highest level. Do you know what just really frustrates me about this whole thing? It is the level of ignorance amongst our politicians. And it isn't just the Labour Party, although, of course, it rankles most because they are supposedly in charge. It's right across the board with our politicians. You know, you had Dan Hannan on last week, who were, well, it wasn't you, but your very honourable stand-in. And Dan Hannan was saying that these migrants are paying thousands of pounds to come over, and that just simply isn't true. Let's address what the Labour MP said this morning about one of the pull factors being English. I mean, you challenged him brilliantly on this. You know, they're saying one of the reasons they come over is because we've gone around the world can't even say it, can you?
Colonising, nearly.
As a result, so many people want to come to the UK because they've got a common language. He would only have to spend, I don't know, like 10 minutes in one of the migrant camps trying to talk to people to realise that they barely can string a single sentence together.
And shock horror, Isabel, shock horror, we spent over 80-something million pounds last year on, oh, I know, translators. It's a load of baloney. That is an absolute load of rubbish to say that they speak English.
Let me tell you just how bad this is in terms of the language skills of these young men. When they get to Dover and they are processed, some of them have so little ability to communicate with the country in which they are landing that Border Force actually present them with a chart on which they show different flags, because some of these people can't even say Somalia or Eritrea. They have to be shown a list of flags for them to point to. They can't say how old they are, so they are shown a list of numbers so they can point to their age. No one knows this. This is an exclusive talk revelation, one of a tiny number of things that we are going to be bringing you next week.
It's amazing, this piece.
What actually happened. So we have done extraordinary research into this. It's not just me working with Christian Drogan, who did the Undercover Migrant documentary with Talk last year. And he will tell you things next week that will make your hair stand on end about what is really happening here. But one thing I can say without spoiling the exclusive is they sure as hell aren't coming to the UK because they can speak English. Let's just knock that one right on the head.
Not only do we knock that, let me just take a sec to say what Isabel's just said. Honestly, peeps, listen to me. I've done this a long time. The work that she and Christian have done is extraordinary. We can't give too much away, but it is extraordinary. And nobody can safely tell you this in any journalistic form since this crisis started has in any way managed to do this, which says an awful lot about Isabel and Christian. We'll have the exclusives on Breakfast next week. It's being done as we speak. The English thing is BS because of translators. Here's the other thing, colonisation. I've lost the email, but somebody rang me, sent me a message. Eritrea, Afghanistan, we didn't colonise them. The only country that we colonised was Sudan in that area. That's another BS suggestion. I can't believe that somebody that... I mean, I was quite interested that you and Dan Hodges, both you know, senior journalists, have both said the Labour High Command won't be very, very happy, because many people have just texted us and rung us and gone, the cat's out the bag. That's the absolute truth about the Labour Party, this apologist sort of... And then there's the other cynical view, which is, let's have as many people to the door as possible because they'll be so grateful they'll vote for me.
I mean, I think that I've just got to keep underlining how uneducated these poor souls are. And I'm not saying that in some kind of horrible way. I genuinely feel from the work that we've done that people with a very low level of education and skills are being unbelievably exploited by criminal gangs. They don't know what they're coming to. This isn't actually, I mean, it's a rational choice in the extent that, you know, if you do live in Chad or Sudan or Eritrea, it's definitely going to be a better life in the UK, no doubt about that. You know, you do have more prospects and you are going to be looked after. But we need to park the idea that these young men are very informed about what it is they're coming to or where they're going. They don't know anything about England.
No.
They really don't. You'd be astonished by how low level this is.
I don't want to give too much away with your work, but do any of them explain why they don't bring their wives and children from a bomb-torn, worn country? Why do they leave them there to be killed?
Well, I mean, a lot of these men are so young they don't have wives and children. I mean, that's the reality. They're in their early 20s. I don't think we've got an average age. In fact, it'd be an interesting thing to ask. I mean, one of the problems is that quite a number of them pretend to be even younger than they are. But I think that the sort of average age is low 20s. So these are not young men that necessarily have left wives and children. But I could also say another reason why it's not realistic to bring wives and children is of the sheer physicality involved in actually getting from where they are to the boat launches. And we'll be saying an awful lot more about that next week.
Can't wait.
But suffice to say, this is not something that unless you're phenomenally fit and young is at all easy to do.
Well, that's me buggered. Let's talk about the other story to do with migration today. I mean, this is extraordinary. Have you been to Gosport before in your life, down in Dorset? Have you been down there, down in Poole, down in that area? Because apparently the government, for fear of scrutiny over the increasing numbers, is now rushing through plans to be one of the biggest migrant detention centres in Europe at Gosport on the Hampshire seafront. It will house 600 foreign criminals and illegal migrants. The council up in us, but I've got a text I want to read you from somebody who lives right next door, Louise. The immigration detention centre in Gosport was mothballed years ago. Renovations have been underway for several years now. Started under the last government, but Labour have now overridden local planning to increase the capacity. Local residents have had no say when there are serious concerns about the impact of housing 600 illegal men and foreign criminals will have in their neighbourhood. The town and the seafront of this small, friendly community. We understand they won't be free to leave the site, but I believe this is not to be confirmed. And I suspect Louise, like many other people in Gosport, very concerned, as you would be, Isabel Oakeshott.
Well, I'm not sure about this thing. She thinks they won't be free to leave the site. I'm not sure about that.
She says that that's what they've been told, but I'm like you. I mean,
I mean, we don't have the Home Office doesn't have a policy of detaining new arrivals. I wish they did. That would be brilliant. I mean, if this is now a change in policy and people are actually going to be detained, then that would be a big story indeed. But I don't believe that that is the case at all. The whole policy, the whole approach of the Home Office is that after people have had the most cursory of checks on arrival, they are put into accommodation from which they're free to leave.
I don't understand if
insanity of it all.
I know, and I don't understand this sort of movement from one place to the next. We'll go from hotels to houses of multiple occupation, and then in some countries, places, counties rather, they give them houses. I've always said, and it's not very popular with the left, to be honest, but I'm all right in this building, is I would not make the detention centres a four-star hotel-like. I'd put them somewhere out of the way. I've suggested Scotland. People always think I'm insulting Scotland. I'm not. I'm talking about an island. And I would make it not horrible, but I would make it basic enough for the message to get back very quickly that the United Kingdom is no longer prepared to wipe your backside. But apparently, again, what hope have we got? Do you remember the Bell Hotel, and the local council won the right to ban it, and I thought fair play, and the government went to court, the Home Office, and said the rights of migrants outplace the rights of the indigenous population. It's ridiculous.
Well, you actually make a really interesting point. Why haven't we been talking to the Scots about this? All those years, there was this failed plan to send them to Rwanda. Why not somewhere up north. And I don't say that from a position of ignorance. I mean, I was
There's
brought
an
up
island in Scotland next to Arran that is semi-inhabited.
There are plenty of islands in Scotland, no shortage of islands, and it's not as if local populations would be threatened by this. There are tons of locations in Scotland which are extremely remote, and local communities would not be heavily affected by this. And actually, it could be a very, very nice way to give the Scots a load of money from Westminster. I'd far rather that than some kind of far-flung processing centre, which will cost a lot more because we have to fly people over there. So I guess the reason that this has never been contemplated is because relations between Westminster and Holyrood are always delicate and always strained, and the Scots will throw their toys out the pram and say, oh, well, what's this? Are we going to be a dumping ground or whatever? Is this how...
They take the money, any money, they take the money, any money.
Well, do you know what? I think you've started an interesting conversation here, and I would love to hear from any Scottish politicians as to why they shouldn't accommodate some of these. I know they already accommodate a lot of asylum seekers. I'm not saying that they don't do that, but why couldn't there be detention facilities, Nightingale style, built in remote places, whether it's in Scotland or England? But the reality is Scotland has a pretty low population in terms of land mass.
You'll love this as well. You know that Sam Rushworth is the Labour MP for Bishop Auckland. I'm turning into you, not in any way as successful. We did a bit of investigation. I say I'm turning into you. Christians had a look. Not one single asylum seeker hotel in Bishop Auckland as a constituency, and one wonders what the people that voted for him will think, that he's blaming colonisation on that and allowing people to come in. It's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting.
Well, if Andy Burnham has his way, we'll all be, as he put it, playing our part, and there's going to be these hotels or HMOs distributed more evenly across the country. It's just the wrong answer to the question. And next week we will be showing on Talk actually how relatively easy it would be.
Oh, you're getting close, Isabel. You're going to have to go. But I want to say this about Milady. I've done a bit of telly in 30 years. I've seen a couple of clips of this. This is blinding. When are we thinking you're going to come on breakfast and give a little sousson, aren't you? And then it's going to be...
We're looking for early next week. Yeah, and I am super excited about it because this is serious stuff, folks, and ain't no politician doing what we do.
Ain't no politician. I love that. That was very sort of American and cool. We thank you so much indeed. We'll get you more involved in terms of saying what it is. But Isabel Oakeshott, it is a world exclusive in terms of migration. It is. There is nobody has done what she and Kristen Drogan have done. We'll be bringing it to you next week on Talk. It'll be on its own a standout programme. But it will also be on The Breakfast Show, and we'll do everything we can to get it to you as soon as possible. Mark, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Just been listening. Obviously, I had that guy on telling us about, they come here because of the language and because they all speak English. No, I deal with people that have been here for 30, 40 years and still don't speak English. Just the way it is. They don't have to because they stay within their own communities. So, the ones that have to have done, and the ones that will live here. But the ones that come here 30, 40 years ago, they haven't learned the language. They don't need to learn the language. So his language, or the fact that they all speak English, is absolutely bullcrap.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Genuinely don't usually do this, but give him a listen at 4. I was listening yesterday in the car. Brilliant. Kev O'Sullivan on Drive, on Talk, 20 minutes to 10. We're live across the United Kingdom. Sam Rushworth has really wound you all up today. Let's say a very good morning. Actually, let's just play the little clip. Little clip. This is what a Labour MP from Bishop Auckland blames illegal migration on.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors. And I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language. And the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
We say a very good morning to the head of comms at Popular Conservatism, Annunciata Rees-Mogg. Is your mouth on the floor like the rest of us? The cat's out the bag, isn't it?
It's absolutely ridiculous. Blame anything you can, except for things you've got control over. They're not going to make us all speak some other language. That's not going to change. We've got to address the situation as it is. And as one of your callers said, a lot of them come here and never learn English anyway.
And also, you should love this, Annunciata. We spent nearly £80 million last year on translators. So the guy's talking complete tosh. But this apologist approach to... I mean, you're saying to his constituents, he's saying to his constituents in Bishop Auckland, what's happened 400 years ago, I'm going to make you lot pay for. It's extraordinary to me. I thought it was right cat out of the bag. For me, the biggest pull, I'd love to know what you take, is that we give these people far too much, and at the moment, we're giving it to the detriment of our own countrymen and women, and they're beginning to kick back.
We give them far too much, and we allow them to stay. That the people who arrive in small boats have around 90% success rate at asylum claims, so they can stay here for life. We've already got their communities from their countries that they can integrate into without integrating into British life at all, and they can get cash-in-hand jobs and work, or work for Deliveroo and Uber Eats and all the other companies. We know that there's a problem with swapping identities. We've got far too many pull factors, and most of it is because of the generosity of the British taxpayer.
Completely
but enough
agree.
is enough.
And I said this earlier, I said to you, I think and feel really strongly that for years it didn't seem to matter, but there is a cost of living crisis. Food is more expensive, energy is more expensive, council tax is more expensive, tax is more expensive, and I think the British people, Annunciata, have just got to the point where they go, well, enough is enough, really. And I say to all politicians, I don't understand the ones who are seemingly deaf to this, because people have had enough. And that's not a threat or anything. I don't talk in those terms. But I think the unfairness of the system is beginning to genuinely grate on so many.
Absolutely. There is a complete unfairness against people who do the right thing, who pay their taxes, who work hard, and are not rewarded for it at a level that makes them able to live comfortably. We've seen today inflation is back up.
Yep.
Our interest rates, long-term borrowing costs are up. Everything is heading in the wrong direction for the British people, and yet we seem to be willing to take economic migrants from across the world and give them a British lifestyle. That is fundamentally unfair when we can't look after our own.
Completely agree. You'll be interested. I'd love your response to this. A French politician overnight demanded that we give them more money, because 500 million for doing Jack Watson is absolutely not enough. He wants more money. He admitted that we're a permanent attraction, and that's true. But he wants more money. I just want to ask you this: the £500 million. What do we get for that? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. But he raised a really important point that I think we will both agree with, that if we're going to make Britain such an attractive place for these people to get to, the problem's not going to go away.
Absolutely.
It's partly our fault. We've got to accept that. We've got to cut the attraction. We've got to deport these people who break into our country illegally.
And not only that, deport foreign criminals out of prisons, and suddenly you've got freer space. We seem to be, Annunciata, and I don't know whether you would see it in this way, we seem to have gone completely wrong. We seem to make excuses for the perpetrators of crime against victims. We seem to favour people who are illegally in our country to those who have paid their stamp for years. I had a guy on earlier, 84. Just found out his dentist's going private, so the reason they're going private is so they can deal with migrants. He's paid in for 60 years, he told me, and he's not going to be able to see a dentist. And he can't afford to go private. That's appalling, appalling.
We have got so much of this wrong, and as there's a straw that breaks the camel's back, and I think the camel's back has been thoroughly broken. The British taxpayer can see how unfair this is. They can see how bad our public services is. They can see that their bills are all going up. They can see that there is no growth, that there are fewer jobs, that people are struggling here, trying to do the right thing, and yet we seem to be the refuge of the world. We can't afford it. We've got to... charity starts at home.
Yeah.
We've got to look after our
And it's
own
really
people
interesting,
first.
that phrase, isn't it? But because I was saying to somebody this morning, imagine 10 years ago talking about immigration, we'd have both been labelled whatever. You're absolutely right. Charity does begin at home. I thought when I said that, people... It does. It has to. It has to. It has to. The argument, you don't know what it's like living in Eritrea, it doesn't wash anymore because people in this country, I was saying this the other day, they work all week, they pay the taxes, they bring up their kids, they look after their partners, they don't break the law, they can't even afford to get a curry on a Friday night. What do they think? I'm being serious, they're going out for a beer or whatever. And that's so wrong.
And it fosters a collapse of communities. It makes our country less safe because there isn't that community cohesion. We don't know who we're bringing in. We know the statistics show that they have a higher propensity to certain very awful crimes. This is a matter of national security, but it's also a matter of national identity.
We love having you on. Thank you. Check out Annunciata, head of comms at Popular Conservatism, an excellent website. And thank you so much indeed. Lovely to have you on. 12 minutes to 10. I'm going to do this by popular demand. Earlier, 2 hours ago, I just put on Sam Rushworth, Labour MP for Bishop Auckland. We talked about migration. It started off all right, and then he let the cat out the bag. This is a repeat because everybody's been asking for it. Have a watch, have a listen.
I think what we do need to look at is what are the pull factors, and I think there's two big pull factors. One is that they speak the English language, you know, because we spent a couple of centuries going around the world colonising it and teaching everyone our language.
There's the reason that the Labour Party will forever allow people to come to this country.
They've got a network of people that speak our language, and the other is that there is a black economy, and we need to deal with the black economy.
Mate, listen, we'll agree to disagree, but you've just said it. You've just said what I've always suspected is central to many people's view, is that, as you said, we went around the world colonising, and that's why we should accept. And listen, you have your right to your view. People listening will have their right to their view. What?
That is why it's a pull factor for them to come. They want to live in a country where they can speak the language, where they've already got
Half
support
of them
network,
can't speak
and
English
a lot
when
of them
they
work illegally.
come on,
what we
Sam,
need to do as well is ramp up. We need to ramp up the raids of illegal working.
Sam, you're not telling me a majority of migrants who come to this country can speak English, are you?
A lot of them come because they feel they can work better in the English language than they can in many of the European languages.
Explain to me then why they don't bring their wives and children. There was a man from the Labour Party who used to be Chief Secretary to Keir Starmer called Darren Jones, who on Newsnight, because I was watching the programme, said that the right don't understand this. 90%, he said, of those boats are full of women and children. The biggest load of claptrap I've ever heard in my life. If you, hear me out, if you were living in apparently this war-torn country, hear me out, right? And you had a wife and child, because I've desperately wanted to ask somebody from the Labour Party this for a long time, would you, A, bring your wife and child to make them safe, or would you, in fact, leave them there and cross 7 safe countries so that you came to England under the guise in your mind, Sam, that you speak the language or because we colonised your land? They're coming here, mate, because we get... Why don't they stay in France? It's safe because you said it yourself. You said, oh, asylum hotels aren't great. They're better than a French tent, aren't they, on the beach? We give too much, mate. We're skint. Inflation this morning, 2.9%. over £100 billion a year on interest simply to cover debts we can't afford. I'm not blaming you for those debts right now. I'm blaming all governments. What I'm saying is, and I can't get this phrase out of my head and it's going to sound terrible and you're going to hate me, shouldn't we be looking at home first before we look abroad? Shouldn't we be saying to the people that you sit there in Bishop Auckland and say, oh, Brits aren't doing that badly, they're only getting £10 in migrant hotels. I went to Bournemouth and I put this out and people were like, oh my God, that's true. I went to Bournemouth 2 weeks ago and took my son for his driving test, a theory test. Bournemouth was full of young migrant men walking up and down, drinking, smoking and leering, to the detriment, don't care what you say, Harry Redknapp came on with me, completely agreed with me, to the detriment of what was once a beautiful town. That is not good for those people. I don't believe that those young men came here to build great lives. Where are their wives? Why did they throw their papers in the sea? And why, seemingly, with respect to you, Sam, are we, in the eyes of many, treating them better than we're treating our own voting, tax-paying public?
What confuses me about your question is you still seem to think that that there is a difference between you and me in the degree to which we want this to be happening. There's not. We both want there to be 0 small boats crossings. But you're asking the question, so why are they mostly men? I mean, firstly, that there are a lot of women and girls, but you are right. I think that there is a much higher proportion of young men. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that in a conflict situation, they tend to be the most likely to be killed and recruited, but also it's because, as you know very well, a lot of these people are coming as economic migrants, or it's because they believe that if they make the dangerous crossing, they can then bring their family. And that's why one of the things this government has done, as I say, we need to disrupt the business model and make it less attractive. We have worked and got an agreement at the European Court of Human Rights called the Chenonceau Agreement, maybe you should cover it, where people cannot appeal to the right to a family life to bring family members in a way that they used to be able to do. That is one of the changes that we have made. Another thing that's important to note is the amount of people who come because they believe that they can work illegally, but there is a big black economy of illegal working. That's why we have increased immigration rates more than 100% since we came to power. So it's about getting rid of the reasons why they come. It's also about returning people. And the
one in, one out thing hasn't been a huge success, has it? So far, we're at 5,300 in and about 10 out.
But something has to explain the 50% drop in small boat crossings this year. The reason why that's an important model, actually, is that people need to know that if you spend a lot of money coming over here, there's a very high risk that you could just be returned straight back to France. Do you know what used to work, Jeremy? There was a time where 100% of them would be returned back to France because we were in the Dublin Agreement. Boris Johnson chose to pull us out of that with his reckless botched Brexit deal. We've left the Dublin Agreement. We can't just return people in the way that we used to be able to. That is one of the reasons why we've seen this industry start up. Another thing we can't do, we used to be in Eurodac, which was an intelligence service sharing information. You mentioned that they throw their documents in the bin. They do, and some of them arrive with false stories, and we don't even know what countries they come from. When we were in Eurodac, we could take their biometrics and we could link that to the European computer and we could see exactly what story they told in previous countries. We're no longer in that system.
million donation problem, which kind of triggered this whole by-election. Is that an issue for you?
No. No, I accept that most politicians are in it at the end of the day for the 100,000 a year that they get. And so everybody's in it for money. And if it was for security, and let's face it, look at Anne Widdecombe. She could have done with 5 million, couldn't she, for security? She's dead. And so, no, I don't. I think he was entitled to accept it.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Couple of minutes to 10. Julia is here from 10 o'clock. David Bull in for Ian Collins from 1 o'clock and Kev O'Sullivan from 4 o'clock on Drive this afternoon. Live across the UK. Get your calls in as ever on the show to Julia already. 0344 499 1000. And don't forget those text messages 87222. All Labour do is import. They import illegals, they import electric, they import gas. It's about time we imported a new bloody government to get us out this mess, says Dave. Debbie says Royal Sutton Coldfield looks a bit like Bournemouth, Jez. Julia Hartley-Brewer, good morning.
Everything's absolutely fine today. A, there's been a bit of rain. Lord looked very happy this morning. B, it turns out that we're going to have number 10 North in charge of basically of growth now. So we're all completely sorted.
Also, at 6 o'clock this morning, this will make you laugh more than anybody I know. I have spent the summer sweltering like a person in an oven.
I was going to say, be careful, yeah.
Right?